The sun has begun its slow, inevitable descent over the city. It is not yet night, but the day has finished its work. The intense bright heat of the Roman afternoon has softened, melting away into a gentle golden haze that hangs over the tiled rooftops. In this quiet hour, the city breathes out. The noise of the market squares, the shouting of the merchants, and the rattle of heavy cartwheels have all faded into a distant, rhythmic hum. It is a sound that does not demand your attention. It is merely the background noise of history, steady and unchanging. You are here in a quiet room in a quiet year of the empire. There is no need to worry about the date or the name of the emperor. Those things belong to the noisy world of the day. Here in the evening, there is only the light and the stone. You can let your mind drift. You can let your shoulders drop. There is nothing you need to learn here. There is only the slow passage of time, moving like a shadow across the floor. In a modest apartment on the second floor of a brick insula, a woman named Aelia sits by the window. She is alone. This is not a lonely solitude, but a peaceful one. Her husband, a soldier of the Legion, is away. He is stationed at a border far from here, perhaps guarding a wall or watching a river. But we do not need to think of him now. He is safe. He is distant. His absence has created a space of absolute silence in this room, a vacuum of quiet that Aelia inhabits with a practiced ease. She sits on a simple wooden stool, her hands resting in her lap. The stool is made of oak, polished smooth by years of use. It feels solid beneath her. She is not moving. She is simply watching the light change on the wall opposite her. The wall is plastered in a pale, creamy white, and as the sun dips lower outside, a rectangle of orange light stretches across the plaster. It is a slow, geometric show. Aelia watches the edge of the light. It moves imperceptibly. If you stare at it, it seems frozen. But if you look away for a moment and look back, the light has shifted. It is creeping toward the corner of the room, turning from bright gold to a deep, dusty amber. The air in the room is still warm, holding the memory of the day. It smells faintly of dry dust, of the rosemary growing in a pot on the windowsill, and of the old timber beams that support the ceiling above. It is a dry, comfortable warmth. Aelia breathes it in slowly. In and out, there is no rush. The evening meal does not need to be cooked yet. The lamps do not need to be lit yet. There is a suspended moment between the day and the night, and she is resting in the center of it. Outside the window, the sky is turning a pale, washed-out blue. There are no clouds, just a vast, empty expanse of color that is slowly darkening. Aelia leans her head against the wooden frame of the window. The wood is cool against her cheek. She looks down into the street below. The street is narrow, paved with gray stones that have been worn smooth by thousands of sandals. At this hour, the traffic has thinned. A single figure walks by, a man in a tunic carrying a basket. He walks slowly, his sandals making a soft slap-slap sound against the stones. Aelia watches him until he turns a corner and disappears. Then, the street is empty again. A cat, patchy orange and white, sits on a wall opposite Aelia's window. It is grooming itself. Aelia watches the cat. It licks its paw, then rubs it over its ear. It repeats the motion. Lick, rub, lick, rub. It is a hypnotic, repetitive action. The cat stops, looks up at the sky, and then settles down, tucking its paws underneath its chest. It closes its eyes. It, too, is waiting for the night. Aelia turns her gaze back into the room. The rectangle of light on the wall has narrowed. It is fading now, losing its orange intensity and becoming a soft, bruised purple. The shadows in the corners of the room are growing. They are lengthening, stretching out from under the bed, from under the table, reaching toward the center of the floor. The room is sparsely furnished. There is the bed, covered in a plain wool blanket dyed a dull red. There is a small table with a clay pitcher and a cup. There is a wooden chest at the foot of the bed where the linens are stored. And there is a small niche in the wall, the lararium, where tiny figurines of the household gods stand. They are small, silent statues of bronze and clay. They watch the room with unblinking eyes. They are waiting too. Aelia stands up slowly. Her movement is fluid and quiet. Her long tunic made of unbleached linen rustles softly around her ankles. Swish, swish. It is a gentle sound, like dry leaves blowing across a path. She walks to the table. She picks up the clay pitcher. It is cool to the touch. The clay is rough, unglazed, sweating slightly in the warmth. She pours a small amount of water into the cup. The sound of the water pouring is the loudest thing in the universe right now. Gurgle, splash, she stops pouring. She lifts the cup to her lips. The water is tepid, tasting faintly of the clay and the earth. She drinks. She lowers the cup. She places it back on the table. Click, a soft sound of pottery on wood. She walks to the chest at the foot of the bed. She runs her hand over the lid. The wood is grainier here. She can feel the ridges of the timber. She opens the chest. The hinges give a low, long creak. Creak. It is not a harsh sound, but a tired one. Inside, there are folded tunics, sheets, and towels. The smell of lavender rises from the chest. Dried lavender flowers, tied in small bundles, have been placed between the layers of fabric to keep the moths away. Aelia does not need to take anything out. She is just checking. She reaches in and smooths the top layer of linen with her hand. She irons out a small wrinkle with her palm, back and forth, smoothing the cloth. It feels cool and dry. She finds this motion soothing, smoothing the chaos of the world into a flat, organized surface. She closes the chest. Thump, a dull, final sound. She returns to her stool by the window. The light has changed again. The sun has fully set below the horizon now. The sky is losing its blue and turning into a deep, velvety gray. This is the twilight, the crepusculum, the time of uncertain light. Aelia picks up a piece of fabric from a basket next to her stool. It is a piece of wool she has been spinning. She holds the spindle in her hand. It is weighted with a small clay whorl. She gives it a little twist. It spins. Whirr. A silent spinning top. She draws out the wool fiber. Her fingers know what to do without her looking. Pinch, pull, twist. Pinch, pull, twist. It is a rhythm that connects her to every woman in the empire, to every woman who has ever sat by a window as the light fails. There is no urgency to finish the thread. If she stops now, it does not matter. If she continues for an hour, it does not matter. The thread grows slowly, inch by inch, winding onto the spindle. She watches the dust motes dancing in the last of the light. They float in the air, suspended, moving in slow, invisible currents. They look like tiny stars. Aelia wonders where the dust comes from. From the street, from the bricks, from the wool. It is the dust of Rome. It settles on everything. It settles on the windowsill. It settles on the floor. Tomorrow she will sweep it away, but tonight she lets it settle. The silence in the room deepens. It feels heavy, like a soft blanket draped over the furniture. Aelia stops spinning. She rests her hands in her lap again. She listens. Far away, very far away, she hears a dog bark. Just once, woof, then silence. She hears the sound of a shutter being closed in a neighbor's house. Clack, she hears the wind picking up slightly, rustling the dry leaves of a vine that climbs the wall outside. SHHH, SHHH. These sounds do not break the silence, they only emphasize it. They are small islands of sound in a vast ocean of quiet. Aelia feels her heartbeat slowing down. Thump, thump, thump. It matches the rhythm of the fading day. The room is getting darker. The corners are now lost in shadow. The lararium is just a dark niche in the wall. The bed is a dark shape. Only the window is a square of lighter gray. Aelia knows she should light the lamp soon, but she delays. She enjoys the transition. She wants to see how dark it can get before she needs the fire. She thinks about the oil lamp. It is sitting on a small shelf near the door. It is a simple terracotta lamp shaped like a teardrop. It has a small handle and a spout for the wick. She knows exactly how much oil is in it. She filled it this morning. The oil is green and thick. The wick is flax. She imagines the act of lighting it, striking the flint, the spark, the catch of the flame, the smell of the smoke, the sudden warm glow, but not yet. For now, the gray light is enough. It is soft on her eyes. It blurs the edges of the room. It makes the world feel smaller, softer. Aelia closes her eyes for a moment. She breathes in the cooling air coming through the window. The heat of the day is lifting. A cool breeze touches her forehead. It feels like a cool hand resting on her skin. It brushes a loose strand of hair away from her face. She does not move to fix it. She lets the wind do what it wants. She thinks of nothing, or she thinks of everything, but the thoughts are slow and slippery. They slide through her mind like water. She thinks of the water in the pitcher. She thinks of the wool in the basket. She thinks of the stone in the street. She thinks of the cat on the wall. There is no narrative, no story, just objects and existence. You can rest here with Aelia. You do not need to know her past. You do not need to know her future. She is just a figure in the dusk, a silhouette against the gray sky. She is safe. The doors are locked. The city is calm. The empire is at peace, at least in this street, in this room, in this hour. She opens her eyes. The room is almost dark now. The rectangle of light on the wall is gone. The wall is just a flat, gray surface. It is time. Aelia stands up. Her joints click softly. She walks to the shelf. She feels for the lamp in the darkness. Her fingers find the cool clay handle. She picks it up. She carries it to the table. She finds the flint and steel. She strikes them. Click, a spark. It dies. She strikes again. Click, another spark. This one lands on the tinder, a tiny glow. She blows on it gently. Woo, the glow brightens. She touches a splinter of wood to the glow. A small flame bursts into life, yellow and blue. She touches the burning wood to the wick of the lamp. The wick takes the fire. It sputters for a second, drinking the oil, then stabilizes. A warm, golden sphere of light expands in the room. It pushes the shadows back to the edges. It lights up Aelia's face. She looks calm. Her eyes are dark and heavy with the fatigue of a long, uneventful day. She blows out the splinter of wood. A thin trail of smoke rises, curling into the air. It smells of burnt pine. Aelia watches the smoke spiral upwards until it disappears into the shadows of the ceiling. She places the lamp in the center of the table. The flame is still. There is no draft in the room strong enough to make it flicker. It stands straight and tall, a tiny soldier of light guarding the room against the absolute dark. Aelia sits down again, but this time she sits by the table near the light. She looks at the flame. She watches the oil level. It is high. It will burn for hours. She has hours of quiet ahead of her. There is no one to talk to. There is no one to listen to. There is only the lamp, the wool, and the slow, steady march of the night. She picks up a piece of cloth she was mending, a white tunic. She holds it up to the light. She examines the weave. It is simple work, under over. She threads a needle. She begins to stitch, in and out, in and out. The metal needle flashes in the lamplight. The thread follows. It is a task that requires little thought. Her hands do the work. Her mind is free to float. Outside, the sky has finally turned black. The first star has appeared. Aelia does not see it. She is looking at her stitching. But the star is there, hanging over the Roman roof, shining down on the sleeping cat, on the silent street, on the vast, breathing empire. The night has truly begun, and Aelia is ready to sit through it, stitch by stitch, breath by breath, in the comfortable, boring silence of her home. The flame of the terracotta lamp is a small, living thing in the center of the room. It does not roar or crackle like a hearth fire. It merely exists, burning with a silent, steady determination. Aelia watches the tip of the flame. It is blue at the base, clinging to the blackened wick, and transitions into a soft, translucent yellow at the top. Occasionally, a tiny imperfection in the oil causes the flame to shudder, casting a momentary ripple of shadow across the table. But then it rights itself, returning to its vertical stillness. Aelia places her needle down on the table. Click, a tiny sound of metal on wood. She leaves the thread trailing from the white tunic, a thin white line connecting the work to the tool. She pushes the fabric away gently. It slides across the smooth wood of the table, bunching up like a small, soft cloud. She is hungry. It is not a sharp, painful hunger, but a hollow, quiet sensation in the center of her stomach. It is the body's clock, chiming silently, telling her that the evening has advanced. It is time for the cena, the main meal, though for her, alone in this room, it will be a simple affair. There is no need for courses, no need for sauces, no need for wine mixed with honey. There is only the need to fill the hollowness. She stands up again. Her movement creates a slight draft that makes the lamp flame bow towards her, as if acknowledging her rise. She walks to the corner of the room where a small wooden cupboard stands against the wall. The cupboard is old. The wood is dark, stained by years of smoke and oil. It has two small doors with simple wooden latches. Aelia reaches out and turns the latch. It is stiff. She applies a little pressure. The wood rubs against wood. SCRRR rich. The door swings open. Inside, the shelves are shadowed. She reaches in, her hand knowing the geography of the dark space perfectly. She touches the rough surface of a basket. She pulls it out. Inside sits a loaf of bread. It is a round loaf, scored into 8 sections like a wheel. It was baked yesterday, or perhaps the day before. The crust is hard and thick, a deep brown color, dusted with a fine layer of flour that feels like dry powder against her fingertips. She lifts the loaf. It has a reassuring weight. It is dense. It smells of yeast and toasted grain, a smell that is the very foundation of the empire. She places the bread on the table, next to the lamp. The light catches the texture of the crust, highlighting the small cracks and fissures where the dough expanded in the oven. It looks like a landscape of brown hills and valleys. She returns to the cupboard. She finds a small bowl. It is glazed on the inside, a shiny, speckled green. She brings it to the table. Then she walks to a large clay amphora standing in the corner of the room. This is the oil jar. It is heavy, sealed with a wooden stopper wrapped in linen. Aelia works the stopper loose. Pop. A faint, grassy scent escapes, the smell of olives pressed months ago in a sunny grove far to the south. She tips the heavy jar carefully, using both hands. The oil flows out. It is thick, viscous, and golden green. It moves slowly, like liquid sunlight. It fills the small green bowl. She watches the level rise. When it is half full, she tilts the jar back. A final drop hangs from the rim of the amphora, stretching, holding on until gravity claims it and it falls into the bowl. Ploop. The surface of the oil ripples, sending concentric circles out to the edges of the bowl. She replaces the stopper. She returns to her seat. The meal is laid out. Bread, oil. Perhaps she has a little salt in a wooden box. She checks. Yes, She takes a pinch of white salt crystals and sprinkles them over the golden oil. The crystals sink slowly, disappearing into the green depths. Aelia breaks the bread. She does not use a knife. She uses her hands. She grips the loaf and pulls. The crust resists, then gives way with a sharp crack. The sound is loud in the quiet room. She pulls a chunk free. The inside of the bread, the crumb, is a lighter brown, dense and spongy. She tears off a smaller piece, bite-sized. She dips the bread into the oil. She watches the bread absorb the liquid. The dry, porous crumb drinks the oil greedily, turning a darker, saturated gold. She lifts it to her mouth. She eats. The texture is complex. The crunch of the hard crust, the softness of the interior, the slick richness of the oil, the sharp bite of the salt. She chews slowly. There is no one to talk to, so there is no need to hurry between bites. She focuses entirely on the act of chewing. The grinding of teeth, the movement of the tongue, the flavor of the wheat. It is a simple flavor, but it is enough. As she eats, she listens to the building around her. The insula is a hive of lives, stacked one on top of the other. The walls are brick and concrete, thick enough to muffle voices, but not thick enough to silence the vibrations of existence. Above her on the third floor, someone is walking. Thump, thump, thump. It is a heavy, tired walk, a man's walk, or perhaps a woman carrying something heavy. The footsteps move from one side of the room to the other, then they stop. A chair scrapes against the floor, scrap, then silence. Aelia imagines the neighbor sitting down, perhaps sighing, perhaps looking at their own lamp. She does not know their name. In the city, you can live surrounded by people and know none of them. But their sounds are familiar. The footsteps are a nightly ritual. They are a comfort. They mean she is not the only one awake. From the apartment below, she hears a murmur. It is a low, continuous drone. Voices, a conversation. She cannot make out the words. It is just a melody of speech, the rise and fall of intonation. A man's voice deep and resonant, then a woman's voice higher, faster, then a pause, then laughter, muffled, distant laughter. Heh heh heh. It sounds warm. It sounds domestic. Aelia feels a faint echo of their connection. The laughter travels through the floorboards and enters her room, bringing a tiny spark of life with it. To her left, through the shared wall, there is silence. That apartment has been empty for a week. The previous tenants moved out, taking their noisy children and their barking dog. Now the wall is quiet. Aelia appreciates the quiet, though she misses the dog slightly. The silence of the empty apartment feels different from the silence of a sleeping apartment. It feels hollow. Dust is settling in there in the dark. She dips another piece of bread. The oil in the bowl is receding, leaving a glossy coating on the green glaze. She looks at her hands. They are working hands, though not rough. The nails are short and clean. There is a small callus on her index finger from the needle. The skin is pale in the lamplight. She watches the muscles in her hand flex as she tears the bread. It is a biological machine, efficient and quiet. She thinks of her husband's hands. They are rougher, calloused from the pilum spear and the gladius sword. She wonders what he is eating tonight. Is he sitting by a fire? Is he eating the same hard bread? Is he dipping it in oil or perhaps into a stew of lentils? She hopes he has lentils. They are warming on a cold night, but the thought is fleeting. She does not dwell on it. To dwell is to worry. She pushes the thought away gently, like sweeping crumbs off a table. He is eating. She is eating. That is enough. A fly lands on the table near the lamp. It rubs its front legs together. It walks a few inches, inspecting the grain of the wood. Aelia watches it. It is a small black speck of life. It finds a crumb of bread. It stays there, motionless. Aelia does not swat it. It is too much effort. And the fly is doing no harm. It is just a guest at her table. She finishes the bread. She uses the last piece to wipe the bowl clean, soaking up the final streaks of oil and the last grains of salt. She eats it. The bowl is now empty, save for a shiny sheen. She feels full. The hollowness in her stomach is gone, replaced by a heavy, comfortable warmth. Digestion begins, a slow internal process that draws the energy of the body inward. Her eyelids feel slightly heavier. Her shoulders drop another fraction of an inch. She sits there for a long time, staring at the empty bowl. The light from the lamp reflects in the green glaze, creating a tiny, distorted star in the bottom of the dish. She sighs. H-H-H-Ua. It is a sigh of contentment. The day's needs have been met. She is sheltered. She is fed. She is warm. Slowly, she stands up. She picks up the bowl and the cup. She walks to a small bucket of water in the corner, distinct from the drinking pitcher. She dips a rag into the water. She wipes the bowl. She wipes the cup. She wipes her hands. The water is cool and refreshing. She dries her hands on a rough linen towel hanging from a peg. The towel is scratchy against her skin. It wakes her hands up a little. She returns to the table. She sweeps the crumbs of bread into her cupped hand. Brush, brush. She walks to the window and tosses them out into the night. They fall silently into the dark street below. Perhaps a bird will find them in the morning, or a rat. It does not matter. They are returned to the city. She leans out of the window again. The air is cooler now. The stone of the windowsill feels cold under her elbows. She looks up. The moon has risen. It is a half-moon, sharp and white, hanging in the black sky. It looks like a piece of broken pottery. The light from the moon catches the edges of the tiled roofs across the street, turning them silver. The city looks different at night. The colors are gone, replaced by shades of gray and black and silver. The shapes are simplified. The world is a charcoal drawing. The street below is a canyon of shadow. There is no one walking now. No carts, no animals. The city gates are closed. The markets are empty. Rome is sleeping or pretending to sleep. Aelia breathes in the night air. It smells of smoke now, thousands of cooking fires and oil lamps burning across the city. It smells of the river, a faint, damp scent carried on the breeze. It smells of the stone cooling down. She turns back into the room. The lamp is still burning faithfully. She sits on the edge of her bed. The mattress is stuffed with straw. It crunches softly as she sits. Crinkle. It is not a soft bed, but it is familiar. It molds to her shape. She looks at her mending on the table, the white tunic, the needle. She decides she will do a little more work, just a little, until the oil drops by another finger width. She moves the stool closer to the table. She sits. She picks up the fabric. She finds the rhythm again. In, out, in, out. The silence of the room wraps around her. The footsteps upstairs have stopped. The voices downstairs have faded. There is only the soft hiss of the lamp, the breathing of the woman, and the slow, endless movement of the needle through the cloth. Time stretches out. It is not measured in minutes, but in stitches. 1 stitch, 2 stitches, 3 stitches. The night is long, and she has nowhere else to be. The room has settled into a deep, motionless gravity. The only thing moving is Aelia's hand and the tiny shadow it casts on the wall. Up and down, up and down. The shadow is a giant, distorted echo of her real hand, dancing against the plaster. She is sewing a patch onto the shoulder of an old tunic. The fabric of the tunic is worn thin, softened by countless washings in the river and countless days of wear. It is almost translucent in places. The patch, by comparison, is new and stiff. Aelia has to push the needle hard to get it through the layers. Pock, the needle pierces the new cloth. Slide. It passes through the old cloth. Tug. The thread follows, making a soft, dry, rasping sound. She does not hurry. There is no quota to fill. This is merely maintenance, the preservation of the household. She watches the thread disappear into the fabric. It is a coarse thread, slightly uneven. She imagines the sheep it came from. A sheep on a hillside eating grass, unaware that its wool would end up here, in a quiet room in a brick city, being pulled through a needle by a soldier's wife. She stops for a moment to rub her eyes. The lamplight is warm, but it flickers slightly now, creating a subtle strobe effect that tires the vision. She presses the heels of her hands into her eye sockets. She sees flashes of color in the darkness behind her eyelids. Orange, purple. Then she opens them again. The room returns, steady and gray-brown. She looks at the lamp. The flame has grown smaller. The tip of the wick has carbonized, forming a small black mushroom shape that inhibits the burn. It needs tending. Aelia reaches for a small bronze pick that lies on the table. It is a tiny tool, no longer than her finger, with a hooked end. She moves the needlework aside. She leans forward. Carefully, with the precision of a surgeon, she extends the pick toward the flame. She hooks the charred piece of flax. She pulls gently. The black cinder breaks off and falls into the oil reservoir. Hiss, a tiny sound as the hot carbon hits the cool oil. The flame instantly jumps up, brighter and taller, grateful for the clean wick. The light in the room intensifies, pushing the shadows back into the corners for a moment. Aelia wipes the bronze pick on a scrap of rag. She leaves a smudge of soot on the cloth, black and oily. It is the residue of the night. She picks up the sewing again. She does 10 more stitches, then 20. She secures the knot at the back of the fabric. She bites the thread to cut it. Snap. A small vibration in her teeth. She inspects her work. The patch is square. The stitches are even. It is not beautiful, but it is strong. It will hold. She folds the tunic. She places it on the table. She places the needle back into a small felt cushion. She winds the remaining thread around a wooden spool. The work is done. Aelia sits back on the stool. She feels a stiffness in her lower back. She has been hunching over the light for an hour. She straightens her spine. She rolls her shoulders. Click, click. The joints release their tension. She rotates her neck. Left, right. She hears the blood rushing in her ears, a low, swooshing sound like the sea in a shell. It is time to prepare for sleep, but the preparation is a slow ritual, as important as the sleep itself. It is the shedding of the day. She stands up and walks to the small basin of water. The water has been sitting there for hours. It has reached the exact temperature of the room, cool but not freezing. She dips her hands in. She splashes water on her face. It is a shock, mild but awakening. She rubs her skin. She washes away the dust of the afternoon, the smoke of the lamp, the oil of the bread. She reaches for the towel. She buries her face in the rough linen. She inhales the smell of the fabric. It smells of soap and air. She dries her face. Her skin feels tighter, cleaner. She feels renewed in a quiet, private way. She walks to the polished bronze mirror hanging on the wall. It is not a glass mirror. It does not give a perfect reflection. It gives a golden, slightly hazy image of her face. She looks at herself. She sees her eyes dark in the dim light. She sees the curve of her jaw. She is not looking for beauty. She is checking for continuity. Yes, I am still here. I am still Aelia. She reaches up to the back of her head. Her hair is pinned up in a simple bun, held in place by 2 bone pins. She finds the first pin. She pulls it out. Slide. The hair loosens on the left side. A heavy lock falls onto her shoulder. She finds the second pin. She pulls it out. Slide. The rest of the hair cascades down. It falls past her shoulders, reaching the middle of her back. It feels heavy and warm, like a cloak of her own making. She feels a sense of relief. The tension on her scalp is gone. She runs her fingers through her hair, massaging the roots. It feels good. It feels like unlocking a door. She picks up a comb from the shelf. It is made of boxwood, with fine teeth on one side and wide teeth on the other. It is smooth, polished by years of passing through her hair. She begins to comb. She starts at the ends, working out the small tangles. Scritch, scritch. The sound of the wood against the hair is dry and rhythmic. She works her way up. Mid-length, swish, swish. The roots, drag, swish. It is a long process. She combs the left side, then the right side. Then she flips her hair forward over her face and combs it from the back. She is hidden behind a curtain of brown. She sees the floor through the strands of hair, the gray stones, the dust. She flips her hair back. Whoosh. She smooths it down. The static electricity makes a few strands float in the air, seeking the comb. She flattens them with her palm. She counts the strokes in her mind, not consciously but habitually. 20 strokes, 30, 40. This is the boring luxury of the night. No one is waiting for her. No one needs her to be anywhere. She can comb her hair for as long as she likes. She puts the comb down. She gathers her hair and braids it loosely for the night. A single, thick plait down her back. It keeps the hair contained but not tight. She ties the end with a small ribbon of wool. She turns away from the mirror. The room feels different now. The sewing is done. The eating is done. The grooming is done. The day is fully dismantled. There is nothing left but the waiting for sleep. She walks to the window one last time. She cannot help it. It is the connection to the world. She opens the shutters again. They creak. The night air is decidedly colder now. It enters the room like a physical presence, heavy and crisp. It smells of wet stone now. Dew is forming on the roofs. She looks out. The moon has moved higher. It is smaller and brighter. The shadows in the street have shifted. Across the way in the opposite building, most of the windows are dark. Black squares in a gray wall, but one window still has a light, a faint orange glow. Aelia watches that distant square of light. Who is awake over there? A scholar reading a scroll, a mother nursing a baby, another wife waiting. She does not know. She will never know, but she feels a kinship with that unknown light. 2 sparks in the dark city. A gust of wind blows down the street. It rattles a loose tile on a roof somewhere. Clack, clack. It swirls the dust in the corner of the courtyard below. Aelia shivers. The cold has touched her bare arms. She pulls the shutters closed. Thump. She slides the wooden bolt across. Shoop. The world is locked out. The room is sealed. She turns back to the lamp. It is time. She cannot sleep with the light on. Oil is precious and the darkness is restful. She walks to the table. She looks at the flame one last time. It is a friend she must dismiss. She leans down. She purses her lips. She blows. Puff. The flame vanishes instantly. The room plunges into absolute blackness. For a moment, Aelia is blind. Her eyes, accustomed to the gold light, see nothing but swirling purple afterimages. She stands still, waiting. Slowly, very slowly, the darkness softens. It is not pitch black. Light from the moon seeps through the cracks in the shutters. It creates thin, ghostly lines of silver on the floor. Her eyes adjust. She can see the outline of the bed, the outline of the table, the bulk of the chest. The room is a collection of shadows now. She moves toward the bed. She navigates by memory and by touch. Her hand brushes the corner of the table. Her knee touches the side of the bed frame. She sits on the edge of the bed. She kicks off her sandals. Thud, left sandal. Thud, right sandal. Her bare feet touch the floor. The stones are cold, draining the heat from her soles. She lifts her legs onto the bed quickly. She lies back. The straw mattress rustles and crunches, accepting her weight. Crinkle, crunch, it is loud in the silence. She pulls the red wool blanket up. It is heavy and scratchy, but warm. She pulls it up to her chin. She tucks it under her shoulders. She creates a cocoon. She lies on her back, staring up into the dark. She knows the ceiling beams are there, crossing above her head, but she cannot see them. She listens. The house is settling for the night. The timbers contract as they cool. Creak, the brickwork groans, tick. Somewhere a mouse scuttles inside a wall. Scritch, 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 it stops. Silence returns. Aelia takes a deep breath. She lets it out slowly. Her body begins to relax, the muscles in her legs unknot, the tension in her neck dissolves. She feels the weight of her own body sinking into the straw. She is a heavy, static object. She is Aelia. She is alone. She is safe. The day is over. The night stretches out before her, a long, flat road of silence leading to the morning. She closes her eyes and she waits, not for sleep yet, just for the quiet to fill her completely. She listens to her own breathing. In, out, the rhythm of the living, the rhythm of the waiting. Aelia lies on her back. The transition from the vertical world of the day to the horizontal world of the night is complete. Her body is now a landscape of stillness. She feels the straw mattress beneath her. It is not a uniform surface. It has hills and valleys, small knots where the stalks have bunched together, and hollows where her body has rested night after night. It is a map of her own sleeping habits, etched into dried grass. She shifts her hips slightly to the left. Crinkle. The straw protests with a dry, rustling sound. It is the sound of a field in summer, captured and stuffed into a linen sack, now echoing in a dark room in winter. She settles. The rustling stops. The silence returns, heavier than before. The wool blanket is heavy. It presses down on her chest, on her legs, on her feet. It is a comforting weight. In the Roman world, security often feels like weight. Stone walls, heavy doors, thick cloaks. The blanket is a shield against the air, which is growing colder by the hour. Aelia can feel the weave of the wool through the thin linen of her tunic. It is coarse. It tickles her neck slightly. She pulls the sheet up to create a barrier between the scratchy wool and her skin. The sheet is cool and smooth. The contrast between the rough wool and the smooth linen is a tiny sensory detail that occupies her mind for a long moment. Rough, smooth, warm, cool. She stares up at the darkness. Her eyes have adjusted now. The room is not a void. It is a composition of grays and blacks. The moonlight leaking through the cracks in the shutter has painted a series of thin, silver lines on the floor. They look like glowing scars on the stone. Aelia watches them. They are perfectly straight. They are the only straight lines in a world that is usually chaotic. She traces the line nearest to the bed with her eyes. It starts at the leg of the table and ends at the corner of the chest. It is a bridge of light connecting the furniture. Dust motes dance in the beam. They drift in and out of the silver light, appearing as tiny sparks and then disappearing into the gloom. Aelia wonders if the dust ever lands, or if it floats forever, suspended by the breath of the room. She listens to her own breathing. In, the chest rises, lifting the heavy wool. Out, the chest falls, the wool settling back down. It is a slow, hydraulic rhythm. She imagines her lungs as two bellows, like the ones in the blacksmith's shop down the street, expanding, contracting, fanning the invisible fire of her life. But the fire is low now, embers, just enough to keep the body warm. She feels a slight itch on her ankle. She ignores it. To move would break the seal of warmth she has built up under the covers. She focuses her mind on the itch. She visualizes it fading. It is a small signal from a nerve ending, nothing more. It pulses once, twice, and then, deprived of attention, it vanishes. The body is obedient. It knows it is time to shut down. Outside, the wind shifts. It whistles softly around the corner of the brick building. Woo, it is a lonely sound. It reminds her that the world outside is vast and empty, but the sound cannot get in. The walls are thick. The shutters are barred. She is the kernel inside the nut. She thinks about the water in the pitcher on the table. It is sitting there in the dark, still, cool, waiting. She imagines the surface of the water. Is it perfectly flat, or is it vibrating slightly with the tremors of the earth? She imagines being small enough to float on that water, drifting in the dark clay vessel. It is a soothing thought, wet, dark, cool silence. Her mind drifts to the laundry she must do tomorrow. It is not a worry, just a list, a mental inventory. The white tunic needs washing. The red stola needs washing. She will need soap. She will need to go to the fountain or the river. She imagines the water flowing over the cloth, the scrubbing motion. Scrub, scrub, the wringing out, twist, the water dripping on the stones. Drip, drip. She replays the memory of washing clothes. It is a boring memory, repetitive and dull, and that makes it perfect for now. She washes the tunic in her mind over and over again. She watches the dirt dissolve. She watches the fabric turn white. It is a loop of cleanliness. A sound comes from the floor above, a creak of timber, Uruk. The neighbor is turning over in bed. Aelia smiles in the dark, a tiny, invisible smile. She is not alone in her wakefulness. Or perhaps the neighbor is asleep, and it is merely their body moving in a dream. She wonders what they are dreaming about. Cabbages, carts, the emperor, it doesn't matter. They are just another weight pressing down on the beams of the building, another heart beating in the stack of humanity. She turns onto her side. This is a major operation. She has to lift the heavy blanket. She has to rotate her hips. The mattress crunches loudly. Crunch, rustle, crunch. She curls her knees up toward her chest. The fetal position, the ancient posture of safety. She tucks her hand under her cheek. The pillow is a bolster stuffed with feathers firmer than the mattress. It smells of old linen and dried herbs. She breathes the smell in. It is the smell of sleep. Now she is facing the wall. The wall is only a foot away from her face. She cannot see the texture, but she knows it is there. A solid, flat presence. She feels the radiant cold coming off the plaster. It is a subtle chill, distinct from the air. It is the cold of the stone itself. She pulls the blanket up higher, covering her ear. Now the only sound is the rushing of her own blood. Whoosh, whoosh. She closes her eyes again. She sees geometric shapes. Circles, triangles, expanding and contracting. They are purple and green against the black background of her eyelids. She watches them morph. A square becomes a circle becomes a line becomes a wave. It is the brain's screensaver, playing quietly while the consciousness powers down. She thinks of her husband, the soldier, but she does not think of his face or his voice. That would be too stimulating, too emotional. Instead, she thinks of his equipment. She lists the items in her head. The Kalagi sandals, heavy leather, iron studs on the soles. She counts the studs in her mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, circling the sole. The cingulum belt, the leather strips hanging down. The metal discs jingling softly. Ching ching, the Larica armor, the iron plates. Curved to fit the shoulder. Overlapping, heavy, cold. She imagines polishing the armor, rubbing it with an oily rag, round and round, removing a spot of rust, making it shine. It is a task she has watched him do 100 times. The repetition of the polishing motion in her mind is hypnotic. Rub, shine, rub, shine. Her thoughts become slippery. They lose their edges. She is thinking about the belt, and then suddenly she is thinking about a river. A slow, brown river flowing through a green field. There is a barge on the river. It is loaded with amphorae, wine jars, hundreds of them, stacked in rows. She counts the jars. 1 row, 2 rows. The barge moves slowly downstream. It makes no wake. It just slides over the water. She is on the barge. She is lying on the jars. The clay is warm in the sun. The river rocks her gently. Rock, rock, rock. She jerks awake, a hypnic jerk. Her leg kicks out. Thump. She is back in the room. The river is gone. The barge is gone. She is awake, but deeper now. The line between thought and dream is blurring. She sighs again. She settles back into the hollow of the mattress. Sleep, she whispers to herself. Or maybe she just thinks it. Sleep. She focuses on her feet. They are cold. They are far away at the bottom of the bed. She rubs them together, swish swish, generating a little friction, a little heat. She tucks one foot under the other calf, seeking warmth. She finds it, a small pocket of heat trapped between her legs. She holds it there, anchoring herself. The silence of the night has a texture now. It is thick. It feels like velvet packed into her ears. It is not empty, it is full of peace. It presses against the windows. It fills the street. It fills the city. It is a physical substance, this Roman silence. Aelia imagines the silence pouring into the room like water, rising up past the legs of the table, past the seat of the stool, past the mattress, covering her. She is submerged in quiet. She listens for the dog again, but the dog is gone, asleep in some doorway. She listens for the neighbor, but the neighbor is still. There is only the building, the bricks, the mortar, the timber, holding them all up, holding them all together. She trusts the building. It has stood for 50 years. It will stand for 50 more. It does not care if she sleeps or wakes. It just stands. This indifference is comforting. The building does not need her. She can let go. She relaxes her jaw. She didn't realize it was clenched. She lets her mouth open slightly. Her tongue rests on the floor of her mouth. Her forehead smooths out. Her fingers uncurl. She's becoming heavy, heavier than the wool, heavier than the bed. She's sinking through the straw, sinking through the floor, sinking into the earth, the warm, dark, silent earth of Rome. She drifts. A thought floats by. Did I lock the door? Yes, she remembers the sound. Click, the iron bolt sliding home. She is safe. Another thought, the lamp. Yes, she blew it out. Puff, the smoke rising. She is safe. The thoughts become fragments. A green bowl, a piece of thread, a white stone, a splash of water. They spin slowly in the dark, like leaves on a pond, turning, drifting, sinking. And Aelia, the soldier's wife, floats among them. no longer waiting, no longer watching, just existing in the dark, breathing in, out, in, out. The night has advanced. Time in the sleeping city has ceased to be measured by sundials or water clocks. It is measured now only by the temperature of the stones and the depth of the silence. The insula is a vertical island of quiet in a sea of darkness. The heat of the previous day, which had clung stubbornly to the brickwork during the evening, has finally surrendered. The cold has begun to seep in. It comes not as a wind, but as a stillness, a gradual lowering of energy that penetrates the mortar and the timber. Aelia is deep in the second cycle of sleep. She has passed through the initial lightness of drifting off and has sunk into a heavier, more viscous state of rest. Her breathing has changed rhythm again. It is no longer the conscious, controlled breath of the awake mind. It is automatic, a reflex of the brainstem. H-H-H-Chua, H-H-H-Chua, a small, soft sound escaping from her parted lips. She is dreaming, but it is not a dream of gods or monsters. It is a dream of lentils. In her dream, she is sitting at a large wooden table. It is flooded with bright, white sunlight. Before her is a mound of dried lentils. They are mixed brown, green, and the occasional small black pebble that needs to be discarded. She is sorting them. Her hand moves to the pile. Her fingers, dream fingers, nimble and tireless, select a lentil. It is brown. It is smooth. It is shaped like a tiny lens. She slides it to the left, click. It hits the wood. She selects another, green, slightly wrinkled. She slides it to the left, click. She finds a small stone, rough, gray. She slides it to the right into a discard pile, scrape. There is no urgency in this task. The pile of lentils is infinite. She sorts one, then another, then another. Brown, green, stone, brown, brown. She feels the texture of the legumes against her skin. They are cool and hard. They make a gentle shushing sound as she runs her hand through the pile. S-H-H-H-S-H-H-H. It is a dream of absolute order. Chaos is being separated into edible and inedible, good and bad, left and right. She sorts for what feels like hours. 100 lentils. 200 lentils. The rhythm is hypnotic. Slide, click, slide, click. She is completely content. There is nothing else in the universe but the table, the sun, and the lentils. In the real room, a draft has formed. The cooling air outside has become heavier than the air inside, and it presses against the gaps in the shutters. A thin stream of cold air slides through a crack. It is invisible, heavy, and silent. It descends toward the floor, pooling like water. It spreads out across the stone tiles, moving around the legs of the stool, around the base of the chest. It reaches the side of the bed. It climbs slowly up the wooden frame. It touches the tip of Aelia's nose, which is poking out from the blanket. Aelia twitches in her sleep. Twitch. The cold sensation registers in her subconscious. Cold, the brain whispers. Protect. She moves. It is a slow, tectonic shift. She tucks her chin down, burying her nose in the wool of the blanket. She pulls her arm in tighter to her body. She curls her legs up another inch. She is shrinking her surface area, becoming a smaller target for the cold. The movement disturbs the mattress. Crinkle crunch. The straw compresses under her hip. She settles. The warmth is restored. The nose is warm again. The dream of the lentils fades, dissolving into a gray mist. She rolls onto her back. The wool blanket slides with her, heavy and loyal. Now she is staring up at the ceiling again, though her eyes are closed. Her mind drifts into a new space. She is walking through the forum, but it is empty. There are no senators, no merchants, no beggars, no soldiers. The great marble column stands silent and white against a blue sky. She walks across the paving stones. Tap, tap, tap. Her sandals make a crisp, echoing sound. She walks past the Temple of Saturn. She looks at the stairs. They are clean and empty. She walks past the rostra. No one is speaking. She walks past the Basilica Julia. The arches are dark and cool. She runs her hand along a marble wall. It is polished smooth as glass. It feels cold. She likes this empty room. It is clean. It is quiet. It belongs only to her. She walks and walks. There is no destination, just the pleasure of movement without obstruction. She does not get tired. In the dream, her legs are light. She floats over the stones. Back in the room, the moon has shifted. The beam of light that was on the floor has moved. It has climbed the leg of the table and now rests across the surface of the wood. It illuminates the clay pitcher. The pitcher glows faintly in the moonlight, a dull earthen glow. A small spider descends from the ceiling on a silk thread. It lowers itself slowly, hand over hand, leg over leg. It hangs in the center of the room, suspended in the void. It waits. It senses the air currents. There is nothing to catch. The flies are asleep. The spider climbs back up. Climb, climb, climb. It disappears into the shadows of the rafters. Aelia does not see the spider. She is miles away, walking past the house of the Vestals. Her mouth falls open slightly. The jaw muscles relax completely. A tiny puff of air escapes. Her throat is dry. The air in the room has lost its humidity. A reflex triggers. She swallows. Gulp. The sound is loud in her inner ear like a stone dropping into a well. She smacks her lips. Smack, smack. She tastes the lingering ghost of the olive oil. Then she is still again. The silence of the insula is deep, but if you listen closely with the ears of the night, it is not empty. There is the settling of the building, the bricks contracting as they cool. Tick. There is the sound of a neighbor snoring 3 rooms away. A faint, rhythmic vibration in the wall. RRRSHHH. RRRSHHH. There is the sound of the wind outside, brushing against the terracotta tiles of the roof. Scuff, scuff. These are the sounds of safety. They define the perimeter of the home. Aelia's left arm, pinned under her side, begins to tingle. The circulation has been restricted, pins and needles. A dull numbness creeps into her fingers. Her brain receives the signal. Discomfort. She groans softly. MMMPH. She lifts her shoulder. She pulls her arm free. She shakes her hand loosely at the wrist. A floppy, sleeping shake. The blood rushes back. The tingling intensifies, then fades into warmth. She places the arm on top of her chest, resting it on the wool blanket. It feels heavy, like a piece of wood. She leaves it there. She drifts into a memory. She is a child. She is sitting in a courtyard in her father's house. It is raining. She's watching the rain fall into the impluvium, the pool in the center of the atrium. Plip, plop, plip, the water ripples. She counts the drops. 1, 2, 3. The sound of the rain is soothing. It washes the dust away. She smells the wet stone. She smells the wet earth. In her sleep, Aelia takes a deep breath. She smells the dampness of the memory. It is a cool, gray smell. The memory loops. The rain falls, the water ripples. The rain falls, the water ripples. It is a seamless circle of time. Her breathing slows down even more. She is entering the deepest phase of sleep, the delta wave sleep. The body is repairing itself. Muscles are knitting together. The mind is cleaning house, sweeping away the clutter of the day. She is a stone at the bottom of a river. The water flows over her. The current is strong but gentle. She does not move. She is heavy. She is anchored. The world above, the wars, the taxes, the emperors, passes by overhead. She is untouched. A mouse skitters across the floor. Scritch, scritch, scritch. It pauses near the chest. It sniffs the wood. Sniff, sniff. It smells the lavender inside. It is not food. It moves on. It finds a crumb of bread near the table leg that Aelia missed when she swept. A tiny treasure. The mouse grabs it. It sits on its hind legs. It eats. Nibble, nibble, nibble. The sound is microscopic. Aelia does not wake. The sound is too small to penetrate the heavy wool of her sleep. The mouse finishes the crumb. It cleans its whiskers. Then it runs back to its hole in the skirting board. Zip. Gone. The room is empty of movement again. Only the dust motes continue their slow, gravitational dance in the moonlight. Aelia feels a sensation of floating. She is lying on the bed, but she feels weightless. She is floating in the dark, drifting through the stars. She passes the moon. It is a cold, white rock. She passes the planets, Mars, Venus, Jupiter. They are silent spheres spinning in the velvet night. She is a voyager of the void. She feels no fear, only a vast, expansive calm. Space is quiet. Space is empty. It is the ultimate bedroom. She turns her head on the pillow. The feathers in the bolster compress. FFFFPH. Her cheek finds a cool spot on the linen. Ah, the coolness is delicious. She presses her face into it. She drools slightly. A tiny wet spot forms on the pillowcase. It doesn't matter. Dignity belongs to the day. The night belongs to the body. She thinks of her husband again, but vaguely. He is a warm shape in her mind, a presence. She imagines him sleeping too, lying on his pallet in a tent. Is he warm? She sends him a thought. Be warm. It travels through the ether, across the mountains, across the seas. Maybe he receives it. Maybe he turns in his sleep and pulls his cloak tighter. Maybe the thought fades. The cold in the room intensifies. The floor stones are freezing now. If she were to step on them, it would hurt. But she is not stepping on them. She is an island of heat. She generates warmth from within. The blanket traps it. The temperature inside her cocoon is tropical. She is baking in her own life force. It is a cozy, secure feeling, like bread rising in a covered bowl. She shifts her legs. Her nightdress has twisted around her ankles. She kicks gently. Kick, kick, trying to loosen the fabric. It slides up. It frees her feet. She wiggles her toes. They touch the wool blanket, scratchy. She pulls them back. She finds the smooth sheet. She rests her feet there. Stillness returns. The night is long. There is so much time left. Hours and hours of blackness. Aelia is rich in time. She spends it freely. She spends it on nothing. She spends it on silence. She spends it on the slow, rhythmic expansion of her lungs. A shadow from the window grate moves across the floor. The moon is traveling. The shadow lengthens. It stretches toward the door. It looks like a hand reaching out, but it moves too slowly to be seen. It is a sundial of the night, marking the passage of the watch. First watch, second watch, third watch, Aelia sleeps through them all. She dreams of a wall, a brick wall. She is laying the bricks. One brick, mortar, level it. Second brick, mortar, level it. She is building a house. She is building a fortress. She works methodically. The trowel scrapes the stone, scrape. The mortar squelches wetly, splorch. The brick settles, thud. It is a dream of construction, building safety, building walls, keeping the outside out, keeping the inside in. She builds and builds. The wall gets higher until it blocks out the sun. Until it blocks out the noise. Until there is only her and the bricks and the peace. She sighs in her sleep. It is a deep, shuddering sigh, releasing the last of the day's tension from her diaphragm. Her body goes limp, totally limp, a ragdoll in the straw. The bed holds her, the room holds her, the empire holds her, and the night continues, silent and deep and boring. The night has entered the period known as the media nox, the middle of the night. It is a time of absolute stillness, a suspended breath between the exhaustion of the evening and the anticipation of the dawn. The city of Rome, usually a beast that growls and shifts in its sleep, has finally fallen silent. The insula where Aelia sleeps is a vertical column of quiet. The families above and below her, the shopkeepers, the laborers, the slaves, all are bound together by the common thread of sleep. Aelia stirs. It is a small movement, a shifting of the shoulders, a turning of the head. She is not awake, but she is no longer deeply asleep. She is floating in the gray water of the shallows. Her body has sent a signal to her brain, a simple biological request: thirst. The air in the room has grown dry as the temperature has dropped. The moisture has settled on the windowsills and the cold stone floor, leaving the air thin and parched. Aelia's throat feels scratchy. Her tongue feels heavy in her mouth. She opens her eyes. For a moment she does not know where she is. The darkness is total. Then the familiar shapes resolve themselves. The square of the window, now a lighter shade of charcoal than the rest of the room. The bulk of the wardrobe, the line of the table. She is home. She is safe. She licks her lips. They are dry. She needs water. The decision to move takes time. The bed is warm. The wool blanket has trapped a pocket of heat that is perfectly calibrated to her body temperature. To leave, it is to invite the cold. She weighs the discomfort of thirst against the discomfort of the cold. The thirst wins. She pushes the blanket down. It feels heavy, like peeling back a layer of earth. The cool air of the room rushes in immediately, attacking her warm skin. She shivers. A tiny ripple of muscle contraction runs down her spine. She sits up. The straw mattress creaks and groans, protesting the shift in weight. Creak. She swings her legs over the side of the bed. She pauses there, sitting on the edge, gathering her resolve. Her white tunic glows faintly in the dim moonlight. She looks like a statue of a goddess, frozen in a moment of contemplation. She lowers her feet. Her toes touch the stone floor. Shock. The cold is intense. It travels instantly from her soles to her ankles, a sharp, biting sensation. The stone has been losing heat for hours. It is now merely a slab of frozen earth. Aelia curls her toes, trying to minimize the contact. She stands up. She walks to the table. Her steps are silent. She knows exactly where to place her feet to avoid the creaky floorboard near the center of the room. She navigates by instinct and memory. She reaches the table. Her hand searches the darkness. She finds the rough, cool surface of the clay pitcher. She finds the small cup beside it. She lifts the pitcher. It is lighter than it was in the evening, but still heavy with water. She pours. Glug, glug, splash. The sound of water in the silence is incredibly loud. It sounds like a mountain stream. She stops pouring before the cup is full, afraid of spilling. She lifts the cup to her lips. The rim is cold against her skin. She drinks. The water is tepid, having sat in the room for hours. It tastes of the clay vessel. It tastes of the earth. To Aelia right now, it is the most delicious thing in the empire. She feels the liquid sliding down her throat, cooling the dryness, soothing the scratchiness. She feels it hit her empty stomach, a cool weight. She drinks the whole cup. She lowers it. She places it back on the table. Click. She stands there for a moment in the dark. She is awake now. The cold air has roused her. She looks toward the window. The shutter is closed, but she can hear the wind outside. It is blowing harder now, a low, moaning sound. Woo-oh. It rattles the latch of the shutter gently. Tink-tink. Aelia wraps her arms around herself. She rubs her upper arms with her hands. The friction generates a little heat. Rub-rub. She listens. Far away down in the street, she hears a sound. Rhythmic, metallic clang, clang, step. It is the Vigiles, the night watch. They are patrolling the district, walking with their iron-shod sandals on the cobblestones, carrying their buckets and axes, looking for fires, looking for trouble. The sound gets louder as they pass the building. Crunch, 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 then it fades, moving away down the street. Aelia feels a surge of gratitude. Men are awake so she can sleep. Men are walking in the cold so she can be warm. The sound of their footsteps is a lullaby of order. The empire is working. The gears are turning, even in the dark. She turns back to the bed. She walks quickly now, eager to escape the cold floor. She reaches the bed. She sits. She swings her legs up. She pulls the blanket up. She pulls it all the way to her chin. She shivers again, waiting for her body heat to warm the space she vacated. It takes a minute. The sheet feels icy where her back touches it. She curls into a ball, knees to chest. She waits. Slowly, the warmth returns. The wool does its work. The shivering stops. She closes her eyes. Her mind is clearer now, washed by the water and the cold air. She tries to go back to the dream of the lentils, but it is gone. Instead, she finds herself thinking about the floor. The mosaic floor she saw once in a wealthy house. Tiny black and white stones. Thousands of them. She imagines the stones. She traces the pattern in her mind. A geometric border. A meander pattern. Right, down, left, up. Right, down, left, up. It is a maze for the eye. She walks the maze in her mind. Turning corners, following the black line. It is boring. It is repetitive. It is soothing. Right, down, left, up. Her breathing slows down again. In, out. The water in her stomach settles. Her heart rate drops. She is drifting. The room is silent again. The vigils are gone. The wind has dropped. Aelia turns onto her right side. The bolster crunches under her ear. She puts her hand under the pillow. It is cooler there. She sighs. Chua. She begins to dream again. This time she is in a garden, a peristylium. It is enclosed by a colonnade of white marble columns. In the center there is a fountain, a stone dolphin spouting water. Splash, splash, splash. The water falls into a blue-tiled pool. Aelia is sitting on a stone bench. The sun is warm on her face, not the hot, burning sun of noon, but the gentle, honeyed sun of late afternoon. She is holding a pomegranate. She breaks it open. Crack, the red seeds spill out. Like rubies, she picks one up. She eats it, sweet, tart. She watches the fountain. The water catches the light. It sparkles. She dips her hand into the pool. The water is cool. Goldfish swim past her fingers. Orange, flash of silver. They kiss her skin, ticklish. She smiles in the dream. The dream is static. Nothing happens. There is no story, just the fountain, the sun, the fish. She sits there for what feels like hours, simply existing in a perfect, warm, wet moment. Back in the room, the moon has moved significantly. The beam of light has slid off the table and now illuminates the foot of the bed. It highlights the texture of the wool blanket. Every fiber stands out in high relief. The coarse weave, the stray hairs. It looks like a landscape of gray hills. A moth flies into the moonbeam. It flutters silently, a chaotic dance of white dust. It lands on the blanket. It rests there, opening and closing its wings slowly. Aelia does not feel it. The wool is too thick. The moth is a tiny companion in the night. Aelia's breathing changes pitch. A soft snore escapes her. HNNN, phew, HNNN, phew. It is a gentle sound, barely audible. It signifies that she has reached the deep ocean of sleep again. She has left the room. She has left the city. She is deep inside the garden of her mind. She feels a phantom sensation on her hand. In the dream, she is touching the marble column. It is smooth, polished, sun-warmed. In reality, her hand is touching the wooden frame of the bed. Her fingers stroke the wood. Scritch-scratch, identifying the texture. The brain merges the two sensations. Wood becomes marble. Rough becomes smooth. The dream incorporates the reality. She rolls onto her back again. The movement is slow, languid. Her arm falls over the side of the bed. Her fingers dangle in the air, inches above the cold floor. She leaves it there. The blood rushes to her fingertips. They feel heavy and swollen. She feels the cool air circulating around her hand. It is a pleasant contrast to the warmth of the bed. She is a bridge between the hot and the cold. She thinks in the deep, wordless way of sleepers about the concept of green. The green of the cypress trees in the garden. The green of the moss on the fountain. The green of the olive oil she ate earlier. The color fills her mind. It is a restful color, a living color. She bathes in the green light of her imagination. Outside, a cat yowls. Ua. It is a sharp, ugly sound, a fight over territory or a mate. Aelia stirs, her brow furrows. The sound intrudes on the garden. The sky in her dream turns gray for a moment, but the cat stops. Silence returns. The sky in the dream turns blue again. The fountain continues to splash. The disruption is healed. Aelia swallows in her sleep. The water she drank earlier has hydrated her tissues. Her throat feels smooth. She is comfortable. She is essentially a biological machine at rest, repairing itself for the next day. Her muscles relax. Her jaw hangs loose. The tension of waiting for her husband, the tension of managing the household, the tension of living in a crowded city, all of it drains away into the mattress. It flows out of her like water, leaving only the husk of the body, resting in the dark. She dreams of fabric. She is folding sheets, endless white sheets. She shakes one out. Snap. It floats in the air, billowing like a sail. She catches it. She folds it, corner to corner. She smooths it down. She picks up another one. Snap, fold, smooth, snap, fold, smooth. It is a dream of domestic infinite. There is no bottom to the pile of laundry, and she does not mind. She likes the feeling of the linen, clean, crisp, smelling of lavender. She folds and folds, creating a tower of white cloth that reaches to the sky. The room cools further. The darkest hour is approaching, the hour before the dawn when the world is at its lowest ebb. But Aelia is warm. She is the keeper of the fire even when the lamp is out. She keeps the warmth of life burning in the center of the cold stone box. She breathes, she dreams, she waits, and the night continues its slow, indifferent march toward morning. The night has deepened into the Continium. This is the Latin name for the dead of night, the time when all activity ceases and the silence is absolute. Even the Vigiles have moved on to other districts. Even the stray dogs have found shelter. The city of Rome, a sprawling organism of brick and marble, has slowed its heartbeat to the barest minimum required to sustain life. In Aelia's room, the air has become still and stratified. The warmth she generates in her bed rises, hovering near the wooden beams of the ceiling. The cold, heavy air from the street sinks, coating the floor in a layer of invisible frost. It is a silent battle between the heat of life and the chill of the void, fought inch by inch in the darkness. Aelia is unaware of this thermal war. She is deep within the fortress of her bed. The red wool blanket, heavy and coarse, acts as a barrier. Underneath it, the air is humid and warm, smelling of sleep and linen. Outside it, the air is dry and biting. She is dreaming of stone, not the cold stone of the floor, but a working stone. In her dream, she is standing in a shaded courtyard. It is morning. The light is pale and clean. Before her stands a rotary quern, a hand mill used for grinding grain. It consists of two round stones, one sitting on top of the other. The top stone has a wooden handle. Aelia grips the handle. The wood is polished smooth by years of palms pressing against it. It feels warm and solid. She begins to turn it. Grrrrrund. The stone moves heavily against the stone beneath it. Grrrrrund. It is a sound of friction, of weight, of crushing. She pours a handful of wheat into the hole in the center of the top stone. The golden kernels disappear into the dark throat of the mill. She turns the handle again, round and round, round and round. It is a slow, rhythmic labor. She feels the resistance of the grain as it is broken down. She feels the vibration travel up her arm into her shoulder. White flour begins to spill out from the edges of the stones. It falls into a wooden trough below. It falls silently, piling up in soft, white mounds. Aelia watches the flour. It is like snow. It is like dust. She turns the handle. Grrrrrund. There is no hurry. The grain must be ground. The flour must be made. It is the eternal task of the household. She falls into a trance in the dream. The world narrows down to the circle of the stone. The repetitive motion soothes her mind. There is no war here, no worry. Just the stone, the wheat, and the flour. Round and round and round. In the real room, the temperature drops another degree. The clay pitcher on the table sits in the dark. Condensation has formed on its outer surface. Tiny droplets of water, pulled from the air by the cold water inside, cling to the rough clay. One droplet grows too heavy. It slides down the side of the pitcher. It leaves a dark trail on the clay. It reaches the bottom. It hangs from the rim for a second. Plip. It hits the wooden table. The sound is microscopic, a tiny percussion in the silence. Aelia does not hear it. She is too busy grinding the grain in her dream. Her body shifts slightly under the covers. The position that was comfortable an hour ago has become stiff. Her left leg is fully extended and the knee joint is locked. Slowly, without waking, she bends the knee. The straw mattress rustles. Rustle, crunch. The sound is muffled by the heavy blankets. She pulls her leg up. She tucks her foot behind her right calf. She is seeking warmth. The skin of her calf is warm. The sole of her foot is cool. She presses them together. Thermal equilibrium begins. The warmth flows from the leg to the foot. She sighs, HHHMMM, a faint vibration in her throat. She settles into the new position. The stiffness in the knee fades. The comfort returns. She drifts out of the dream of the mill. The stone fades. The courtyard fades. She enters a state of imageless sleep, a gray void, but her senses are still active, recording the data of the room. She smells the bolster. It smells of the goose feathers inside, a faint, musky scent of bird. It smells of the dried lavender she put in the chest. It smells of her own hair. It is a comforting, domestic bouquet. She nuzzles her face deeper into the pillow. The linen case is cool against her forehead but warm against her cheek. She likes the contrast. She breathes in. The fabric blocks the airflow slightly, creating a warm pocket of carbon dioxide. She breathes out. the warmth spreads. She thinks in that nebulous, non-verbal way of sleepers about the floor of the room. She knows every tile, every crack. There is a tile near the door that is slightly loose. If you step on the corner, it clicks, click. There is a tile near the window that is stained with oil from a spilled lamp 3 years ago, a dark, permanent shadow. There is a tile under the bed that is rougher than the others. In her mind, she maps the floor. It is her territory. She imagines walking across it barefoot. Avoiding the loose tile, avoiding the rough patch. It is a mental dance, a choreography of the home. She feels safe knowing the floor is there, solid, unmoving, supporting her bed, supporting her life. Outside, the wind dies down completely. The air becomes stagnant. The silence intensifies. It feels heavy, pressing against the eardrums. It is the silence of a stopped clock. Aelia floats in the silence. She feels a sensation in her hand. Her fingers are curled into a loose fist. She relaxes them. They uncurl, like a flower opening. They rest flat on the mattress. She feels the texture of the sheet under her fingertips. It is woven linen. She can feel the individual threads. The warp and the weft. Up, down, up, down. She traces the weave with a microscopic movement of her index finger. It is a tactile anchor. It reminds her that she is real, that the world is real. She drifts into a new dream. She is in a room. It is this room, but different. It is empty. There is no furniture. The walls are white. The light is bright and diffused, coming from everywhere and nowhere. She is holding a ball of yarn. Red yarn. She drops it. It rolls across the floor. It unspools. A long red line across the white stones. She watches it roll. It rolls and rolls. It hits the wall. Bump. It stops. She walks over to it. She picks it up. She starts to wind it back up. Over her hand, wind, wind, wind. The red line disappears back into the ball. It is a dream of reversal, undoing the mess, tidying up the universe. She winds the yarn until it is a perfect sphere again. She holds it. It is soft and warm. She places it in a basket. The dream ends. There is no climax, no message, just the yarn and the basket. Back in the bed, Aelia swallows. Her throat clicks softly. Kalik, the muscles of her neck relax. Her head tilts back slightly on the bolster. Her mouth opens a fraction more. Her breathing changes pitch. It becomes deeper, more resonant in the chest. H-H-H-O-W-A, H-H-H-O-W-A. She is in the deepest valley of the night. The moon has moved out of sight of the window. The beam of light is gone. The room is now uniformly dark, a soup of shadows. The only way to know where the furniture is would be by touch. Aelia knows. Her body knows the dimensions of the space perfectly. She knows that if she stretched her arm out to the left, she would hit the wall. She knows that if she sat up, her head would be 3 feet from the ceiling. She exists in a calibrated box of space. She feels a faint hunger again, not a sharp pang, but a dull emptiness. Her body has processed the bread and oil. It is looking for fuel. It finds none in the stomach, so it turns to reserves. It burns a little fat. It slows the metabolism. It enters hibernation mode. Aelia feels lighter in her sleep, hollowed out. She likes the feeling. It feels clean. She imagines she is a dried gourd hanging from a rafter. Light, empty, swaying in a gentle breeze. Sway, sway. A sound comes from the street, very faint. A cart. A heavy cart far away, perhaps on the main thoroughfare, the Via Lata. The wheels are iron-rimmed. They grind against the paving stones. Ar-ar-ar rumble. Ar-ar-ar rumble. It is a low-frequency sound. It travels through the earth, up the foundations of the insula, into the walls. Aelia feels it more than hears it. A vibration in the bed frame, a trembling in the floor. She incorporates it into her sleep. In her mind, it becomes the sound of thunder. Distant, harmless thunder, or the sound of the sea rolling stones on a beach. Rumble, S-H-H-H, rumble, S-H-H-H. The cart passes. The vibration fades. Silence returns to the room, washing over everything like a tide. Aelia turns her head to the other side. Her hair, thick and braided, shifts with her. The braid falls over her shoulder. It feels like a heavy rope. The end of the braid tickles her arm. She brushes it away sleepily. Swish. Her hand falls back onto her stomach. She rests her hands on her abdomen, fingers interlaced. It is the pose of a statue on a sarcophagus, peaceful, eternal. She feels the rise and fall of her belly. Up, down, up, down. She is a boat riding the gentle swell of her own breath. She thinks about the concept of tomorrow, but not the tasks, not the laundry or the market, just the light. She imagines the sun rising. She imagines the color of the sky turning from black to gray to blue. She imagines the first ray of light hitting the terracotta tiles of the roof opposite, turning them orange. She imagines the warmth returning to the stones. It is a comforting thought. The cycle continues. The night is long, but it is not infinite. The sun will come back. It always comes back. But for now, she prefers the dark. The dark is private. The dark asks nothing of her. In the light, she is a wife, a neighbor, a Roman. In the dark, she is just a breathing body. She hugs the darkness to her. She pulls the blanket up over her ear again, blocking out the world, blocking out the cart, blocking out the wind. She dives deeper, down into the softness of the straw, down into the silence. She remembers a song her mother used to hum, a simple melody. 3 notes, hum, hum, hum. She hears it in her mind. It repeats. It is a lullaby. She hums it internally, matching it to her heartbeat. Thump, hum, thump, hum, thump, hum. The music of the blood. It soothes her. It anchors her. The room waits. The furniture waits. The spider in the rafters waits. The dust motes wait. Everything is suspended in the amber of the night. Aelia sleeps. She does not move. She is a part of the stillness, a part of the history of the night. Quiet, boring, peaceful, asleep. The night hangs suspended over Rome. It is a physical weight, pressing down on the tiled roofs, filling the narrow alleys and settling into the courtyards of the Insulae. The energy of the city, which usually vibrates with a chaotic hum, has been completely absorbed by the dark. The silence is not merely an absence of noise, it is a presence in itself. It is a thick, velvety substance that fills the room, plugging the cracks in the walls and muffling the air. Aelia lies in the center of this silence. She has not moved for some time. Her body has become a heavy, static object, anchored to the bed by gravity and exhaustion. The red wool blanket, which she pulled up earlier, has settled around her form. It follows the curve of her hip, the dip of her waist, and the slope of her shoulder. It is a landscape of wool, a miniature mountain range in the dark room. Inside this wool landscape, the temperature is perfect. Aelia has created a microclimate of tropical warmth. Her skin is warm. Her blood flows slowly and easily through her veins, carrying oxygen to the resting muscles. The contrast between the air under the blanket and the air in the room is stark. If she were to stick her hand out now, the air would feel like cold water. But she does not stick her hand out. She keeps her limbs tucked in, hoarding the heat. She is dreaming again. The dream of the sorting is over. The dream of the wall is over. Now she is dreaming of water. She is standing on a ridge looking at an aqueduct. It stretches across a green valley, a line of stone arches marching toward the city. The arches are tall and graceful, gray stone against a blue sky. She's walking along the top of the aqueduct, on the maintenance path next to the covered water channel. She can hear the water rushing inside the stone channel. Shhhwash. It is a continuous, powerful sound, the sound of a river captured and tamed. She walks at the same pace as the water. She is escorting the water to Rome. She places one foot in front of the other. Step, step, step. The stone path is warm under her sandals. She looks down at the valley floor far below. Sheep look like white pebbles. Trees look like broccoli. She feels no fear of the height. In the dream, she is safe. She is part of the structure. She walks for miles, arch after arch. The rhythm of the arches passing beneath her is hypnotic. 1 arch, 2 arches, 3 arches. It is a journey without a destination. The aqueduct goes on forever, a gray ribbon tying the mountains to the city. She runs her hand along the stone covering of the channel. It is rough and cool. She feels the vibration of the water inside. Hummum. It is the pulse of the empire. She walks and walks and walks. There is nothing to do but walk and listen to the water. In the real room, the air has become stagnant. The dust motes, which were dancing earlier in the moonlight, have slowly settled. They have landed on the floor, on the table, on the rim of the pitcher. A fine, invisible layer of Roman dust coats everything. It is the skin of the city, shedding and renewing itself every night. Aelia shifts. The dream of walking has triggered a reflex in her legs. Her right leg twitches. Jerk. Her foot kicks out slightly against the heavy wool. The movement disrupts the seal of the blanket at the bottom of the bed. A tiny gap opens up near her ankles. Cold air, waiting patiently on the floor, rushes in. It strikes her ankles like a snake bite. Cold. Aelia frowns in her sleep. Her brow furrows. The sensation enters her dream. The sun in the valley disappears. A cold wind blows across the aqueduct. She stops walking. She wraps her arms around herself in the dream. Cold, she whispers in the dream. In the bed, her body reacts automatically to repair the breach. She retracts her legs, pulling them up. She digs her heels into the mattress. Crunch. She pushes the blanket down with her feet, tucking the end back under her heels. The gap is closed. The cold air is trapped and quickly warmed by her skin. The crisis is over. Her brow smooths out. The sun returns to the aqueduct. She starts walking again. Step, step, step. She rolls over onto her stomach. This is a slow, luxurious movement. She pushes up with her shoulder. She rotates her hips. The mattress groans, creak. She flops onto her front, whump. She turns her head to the side, resting her cheek on the bolster. Her arms move up, sliding under the pillow. She hugs the bolster. It is a position of total surrender to gravity. She feels the pressure of the mattress against her chest, against her stomach, against her thighs. It feels grounding. She feels the beat of her heart against the mattress. Thump, thump. The sound travels through the straw, through the wood frame, and into the floor. She is beating the drum of the room. She breathes out a long, heavy sigh into the pillow. The warm breath filters through the linen case and warms the feathers inside. She smells the scent of the pillow again. It smells of time. It smells of nights past. It is a familiar, friendly smell. Her mind drifts away from the aqueduct. The stone arches fade into the mist. The sound of the water fades. She enters a quiet, dark space. She thinks about the concept of the market, but not the noise or the people. She thinks about the vegetables. She visualizes a crate of cabbages, round, green, tightly packed leaves. She looks at the cabbages in her mind. She counts them. 1 cabbage, 2 cabbages, 3 cabbages. She imagines touching them, cool, waxy, squeaky. She visualizes a pile of onions. Yellow skins, papery. She imagines the sound of the skins rustling, crinkle. She visualizes a basket of turnips, purple and white, still covered in earth. She likes the turnips. They are solid. They are humble. She arranges the vegetables in her mind. Cabbages on the left, onions in the middle, turnips on the right. It is a mental pantry. She organizes it. She straightens the rows. She is tidying up her thoughts. Outside, the wind picks up again. It is the third watch wind, a colder, sharper breeze that comes deep in the night. It whistles through the narrow gap between the insula and the neighboring building. Wee-oo. It sounds like a flute played by a ghost. Aelia hears it. It incorporates into her sleep. She imagines she is in a field of tall grass. The wind is blowing the grass. Swish, swish. Waves of green grass rolling like the sea. She is lying in the grass, hidden. The wind blows over her. She is safe in the green tunnel. She feels the grass touching her arms, soft, ticklish. She likes the wind in the dream. It means fresh air. It means nature. But in the room, she stays warm. A tiny vibration travels through the wall. A shutter slams somewhere in the distance. Bang! It is a dull, wooden sound. Aelia does not wake. Her brain filters it out. Not a threat, it says. Just wood. She continues to lie in the grass. She feels a dryness in her nose. The air is very dry now. She sniffs gently. Sniff. She rubs her nose against the pillow. Rub, rub, creating friction to scratch an itch. She moves her mouth, chewing on nothing. Her jaw slides side to side. Grind. A tiny sound of teeth touching. Then she relaxes the jaw again. Her mouth falls open. A small bubble of saliva forms at the corner of her lips. She is in the deepest, most unglamorous, most restorative part of the night. She thinks about her hands. They feel heavy and large in her sleep. She imagines her hands are made of stone, marble hands, resting on the bed. She cannot move them. They are too heavy. She accepts this. I have stone hands, she thinks. That is fine. Stone hands do not need to sew. Stone hands do not need to cook. Stone hands just rest. She enjoys the heaviness. It anchors her to the bed. It prevents her from floating away into the ceiling. She listens to the silence of the room again. It has a rhythm. The silence pulses. Quiet, quiet, quiet. It is synchronized with the universe. She feels a profound sense of boredom, and it is beautiful. There is absolutely nothing happening. No news, no messengers, no fires, no parades, just Aelia in the dark. She luxuriates in the boredom. She wraps the boredom around her like a second blanket. It is soft and gray. She thinks about the olive tree, the one in the courtyard of her childhood home. She remembers the trunk, twisted, gray, ancient. She remembers the leaves, silvery green. She remembers the olives, black pearls hanging from the branches. She imagines sitting under the tree. The shade is cool. The ground is hard packed earth. Ants crawl on the ground. She watches the ants, a line of black dots, marching. 1 ant, 2 ants, 3 ants. They are carrying crumbs. She watches them for 100 years in the dream. Just watching ants. It is the ultimate peace. Her breathing catches for a second. A tiny pause in the rhythm. Then it resumes. H-H-H-Chua. She rolls her head to the other side of the pillow, seeking the cool spot again. She finds it. Ah, the cheek cools down. The heat dissipates into the linen. She sighs again. It is a conversation between her body and the bed. I am hot, says the body. I am cool, says the pillow. Thank you, says the body. The room is slowly, imperceptibly getting darker. Or perhaps her eyes are just getting more tired. The gray squares of the window seem to have vanished. The darkness is a solid block. Aelia is trapped in amber, but she does not want to escape. She wants to stay here. She wants the night to last for a week. She wants to sleep until the wars are over, until the harvest is done, until the clothes wash themselves. She wants to be a sleeper by profession. She feels a cramp in her toe, the second toe on her left foot. It curls painfully. Ouch, the signal reaches her brain. She wakes up slightly, just a fraction. She flexes her foot. She pushes the heel down. She spreads the toes. The cramp fights back. She holds the stretch. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The muscle relaxes. The pain fades into a dull ache, then disappears. She wiggles the toe. It works. She sighs. Crisis averted. She drifts back down through the layers of consciousness. Past the ants, past the grass, past the aqueduct, into the void. She thinks about the color blue, deep Roman blue, the color of the night sky before the stars come out, the color of the sea at Ostia. She paints her mind with this color. She dips a brush into a pot of blue paint. She paints the inside of her skull blue. It is cooling. It is vast. She floats in the blue. She is a cloud in a blue sky, drifting, changing shape, dissolving. Silence of the insula is broken by a faint sound from the stairs. A cat or a rat, something scampers up the wooden steps. Thump, thump, thump. Fast, light, then silence. Aelia hears it, but it does not wake her. It is just part of the house's soundtrack. The house is alive, she thinks dreamily. The house has feet. She accepts the feet. They are not coming for her. They are going somewhere else. She is safe behind her door, safe behind her lock, safe behind her husband's reputation. She is Aelia. She is asleep. She swallows again. The throat is moist. The body is functioning perfectly. She feels a sense of gratitude to her body. Good body, she thinks. Keep breathing. Keep sleeping. She pats her own stomach in her sleep. A tiny, comforting gesture. Then her hand falls back to the mattress. Limp, heavy, gone. The night stretches on. There is no sign of dawn. The sun is hours away. The world belongs to the sleepers. Aelia is the queen of the sleepers. She lies on her throne of straw, wrapped in her robe of wool, ruling over a kingdom of nothing. And she is happy. Quietly, boringly, deeply happy. The night has settled into a deep, impenetrable gravity. It is the hour when the stones of the city seem to exhale the last of the day's memories, leaving behind only the cold, hard fact of their existence. The insula is no longer a building made of separate rooms and separate lives. It has fused into a single, silent monolith of brick and timber, standing guard against the emptiness of the dark. Aelia lies submerged in the center of this monolith. She has not moved for a long time. The heavy red wool blanket has stopped settling. It has found its final shape, draping over her hip and shoulder like a terrain map of a sleeping giant. The air inside her cocoon is stable, humid, and scented with the faint, comforting smell of lavender and warm skin. She is dreaming, and in this dream there is no sky, no ground, only a task. She is standing before a vertical loom, a warp-weighted loom tall and wooden. The warp threads hang down, weighted at the bottom by clay loom weights. They are perfectly straight, white lines against the darkness of the dream. Aelia is weaving. She holds the shuttle in her right hand. It is smooth, polished wood, shaped like a small boat. She passes it through the shed, the space between the threads. Slide. It moves effortlessly, frictionless. She catches it with her left hand. She pulls the weft thread through. Then she reaches up with the wooden sword, the beater. She pushes the new thread up against the old fabric. Thump. It is a soft, satisfying sound, the sound of closure. Slide, catch, thump, slide, catch, thump. She's weaving nothing in particular. Not a tunic, not a cloak, just infinite white cloth. She watches the fabric grow, row by row, millimeter by millimeter. It is a dream of pure progress. There are no mistakes, no broken threads. No knots, just the rhythm. The weights at the bottom of the loom swing gently with every beat. Clink, clink, the sound of clay hitting clay. Aelia finds this sound immensely soothing. It is the heartbeat of her work. She weaves for an hour in the dream, or maybe a minute. Time does not exist here. Only the weave exists. Up, down, slide, thump. The real room, the darkness is total. The moon has traveled further west, leaving the window grate as just a faintly lighter shade of black against the absolute black of the wall. A sound disturbs the silence. It comes from the corner of the room near the ceiling. A tiny, rhythmic sound. Plip, pause, plip. It is a drop of condensation falling from a cold beam onto the stone floor, or perhaps onto a wooden shelf. Aelia stirs. Her ear, pressed against the bolster, picks up the vibration. Sound enters her dream. The loom weights stop clinking. Instead, water starts to drip onto the white fabric. Plip, a wet spot appears. Plip, another wet spot. Aelia stops weaving. She looks at the water. She is not angry. In the dream, she simply accepts it. Water, she thinks. Clean water. She watches the drops fall. They are silver. They turn the cloth into a river. The loom dissolves. The shuttle dissolves. She is left standing by a slow, dripping stream in a cave. It is cool. It is dark. She sits down by the stream. She listens. Plip, plip, plip. She rolls over in the bed. The movement is slow, like a seal turning in water. She moves from her stomach to her right side. The bolster feels too warm against her cheek. She needs a fresh surface. She pushes the bolster up with her hand. Punch. She slides her head down to the lower part of the pillow. It is cool. Ah, the sensation of the cool linen against her hot skin is a physical pleasure so intense it almost wakes her. She sighs, a long, shuddering breath that empties her lungs completely. She pulls the blanket up over her ear again. She creates a seal against the dripping sound. The plip becomes muffled, distant. It fades into the background noise of her own pulse. Whoosh whoosh. She thinks about the concept of the key, the iron key to the door. It is hanging on a peg by the entrance. She visualizes it, iron, heavy, complex teeth. She imagines taking the key down. She imagines the weight of it in her hand, cold metal. She imagines putting it in the lock, click, turning it, clack, locking the world out, locking the piece in. She does this mentally over and over. Lock, unlock, lock, unlock. It is a mechanism of safety. She confirms to herself the door is locked. The key is hanging. I am here. Her mind drifts to the jar of honey in the cupboard. She imagines the honey. Amber, thick, sweet. She imagines dipping a spoon into it. The honey trails off the spoon, a long, golden thread. It folds over itself in the jar. She watches the honey fold, slowly, viscous. It takes a long time for the surface to settle flat again. She waits for it. She watches the bubbles rise in the honey. Tiny air bubbles moving upward at the speed of a glacier. One bubble, two bubbles, they reach the surface. Pop. Silent, she feels like the honey. Slow, sweet, heavy, stuck in the jar of the room. She feels a draft on her shoulder. The blanket has slipped slightly during her roll. The tip of her shoulder is exposed to the room air. It feels like a block of ice is touching her skin. Aelia frowns in her sleep. She tries to shrug the blanket back up without using her hands. She wiggles her shoulder. Shimmy, it doesn't work. The wool is too heavy. She has to use her hand. Reluctantly, she extracts her hand from the warmth. It enters the cold zone. She grabs the edge of the blanket. She pulls. Tug. She tucks it under her chin. She tucks it behind her back. She is swaddled again. Her hand retreats back to her chest. It feels cold now. She tucks it under her other armpit, seeking heat. She holds it there. The warmth returns. She relaxes. She thinks about the floor tiles again, but this time she imagines cleaning them. She imagines a bucket of water and a rag. She is on her knees. She is scrubbing. Scrub, scrub. The gray stone turns dark with water. She washes away the dust. She washes away the footprints. She creates a clean, wet path across the room. She watches the stone dry. The water evaporates. The gray color returns, but lighter, cleaner. It is a boring, repetitive task, and she loves it in the dream because it is simple. Because it has a beginning and an end. She scrubs the whole room in her mind, corner to corner, leaving no dust. Outside, the city is quieter than it has ever been. The wind has died completely. The air is motionless. Aelia feels the stillness. It presses against the walls. It feels like the whole world is holding its breath. She holds her breath too, just for a moment, testing the silence. Then she exhales. Hua. She's the only thing breathing in the universe, or so it feels. She feels a sensation in her hair. The braid is twisted under her neck. It is a lump, uncomfortable. She reaches back. She lifts her head slightly. She pulls the braid out. She lays it over her shoulder, down her front. It rests on her chest like a sleeping snake. She strokes the end of the braid with her thumb. The hair is soft. She plays with the ribbon at the end, twisting it, untwisting it. It is a tiny fidget, a way to discharge the last atoms of energy in her body. Then her hand stops. It falls limp, resting on the braid. She drifts deeper, into the Nile, the nothingness, the place where there are no looms, no keys, no honey, just gray, soft, warm gray fog. She floats in the fog. She is weightless. She is shapeless. She is just a consciousness suspended in peace. She likes the fog. It muffles everything. It hides everything. She wraps the fog around her shoulders. She breathes the fog. It tastes of sleep. Suddenly, a dog barks, far away, miles away, near the river. Woof, it is a tiny sound, barely a scratch on the silence. Aelia hears it, but she does not wake. She incorporates it. In the fog, she sees a dog, a gray dog made of mist. It looks at her. It does not bark. It wags its tail once. Then it dissolves back into the fog. Good dog, she thinks. Go to sleep. She feels the weight of the darkness pressing on her eyelids. Even though they are closed, she feels the lack of light. It is a heavy, comforting pressure, like a hand covering her eyes. Rest, the darkness says. Do not look. There is nothing to see. She obeys. She keeps her eyes shut tight. She inspects the inside of her eyelids. She sees a faint purple swirl. It rotates slowly, clockwise. She watches the swirl. It is her own personal galaxy, spinning in the dark. She gets lost in the purple. It is deep. It is endless. She thinks about the morning, the inevitable return of the sun, the matutinum. She imagines the rooster crowing. She imagines the carts starting to roll, the water sellers shouting. The thought makes her tired. It feels too loud, too bright. She pushes the morning away. Not yet, she whispers to the universe. Give me more night. Give me more stone. She clings to the shadow. She burrows deeper into the mattress, hiding from the dawn. She feels the texture of the linen sheet against her toes. It is warmed up now. It is no longer cool. It is the same temperature as her blood. She cannot tell where her foot ends and the sheet begins. The boundary has dissolved. She is melting into the bed. She is becoming part of the furniture. Aelia the bed, Aelia the blanket. It is a peaceful transformation, to be an object, to just lie there, to serve no purpose but to exist. She listens to the rhythm of the insula one last time. Tick, a brick cooling, creak, a timber settling, hiss, the wind returning gently. It is the music of home. She knows the song by heart. She hums along in her silence, a song of safety, a song of sleep. Her breathing deepens. The gap between breaths gets longer. In, pause, out, in, pause, out. She is a diver holding her breath underwater, swimming through the caves of sleep. She goes down, 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 into the perfect, boring, beautiful dark. The night has reached a point of deep, suspended animation. The concept of time has dissolved within the walls of the insula. There is no past and there is no future. There is only the eternal present of the dark room, the cold stone floor and the warm bed. The silence is no longer emptiness. It has weight and texture, pressing against the eardrums like a soft, heavy fluid. Aelia lies motionless in this fluid. She has become an island of heat in a sea of cool air. Her body is curled into a tight, defensive shape, preserving the warmth she has generated over the last few hours. The red wool blanket is pulled up high, covering her ear, leaving only a small crescent of her face exposed to the room. Her breathing is shallow and rhythmic, a metronome keeping time for a sleeping world. She is dreaming. It is a dream of clay. In the dream, she is in a potter's workshop. The air smells of damp earth and wood smoke. The light is dim, filtered through high, dusty windows. She is watching a potter's wheel spin. It is a heavy stone flywheel, kicked into motion by a foot. Kick, spin, kick, spin. The wheel turns with a low, humming vibration. Whirr. Aelia watches the clay on the wheel. It is a gray, shapeless lump. She places her hands on it in the dream. The clay is cold and wet. It is slippery against her palms. She centers the clay. She pushes down. The lump flattens. It widens. She pulls up the walls, slowly, gently. A cylinder of gray mud rises from the spinning wheel. She watches the walls get thinner. She watches the rim become even. It is a hypnotic process. The wheel spins, round and round. The clay turns, round and round. There is no sound but the whir of the stone and the wet slap of her hands on the mud. She makes a bowl, then she collapses it. Squish. She starts again. She makes another bowl. Round, perfect, gray. She collapses it. It is a cycle of creation and destruction that means nothing and everything. It is just movement. It is just earth. Real room, a tiny change occurs. The temperature drops another fraction of a degree. The oil in the lamp, now cold and congealed, settles slightly in its reservoir. The wooden beams of the ceiling contract. Crack. A sharp, dry sound echoes in the room. It sounds like a knuckle cracking. Aelia stirs. The sound pierces the dream of the pottery. The wheel stops spinning. The clay freezes. Aelia opens her eyes, just a slit. She sees nothing but the darkness. Her brain registers the sound. Wood, it whispers. Just wood. The house is shrinking. She accepts this. She closes her eyes again. She feels a heaviness in her right shoulder. She has been lying on it for too long. The joint is compressed. The blood flow is restricted. It is a dull, throbbing ache. She needs to move, but moving is an ordeal. It requires breaking the seal of the blanket. It requires muscle energy. She procrastinates. She tries to ignore the shoulder. She focuses on her toes instead. Her toes are warm. They are happy. She focuses on her breathing in, out, but the shoulder persists. It complains. Move, it says. Move now, Aelia sighs, HNNNGH. She prepares for the maneuver. She lifts her head off the bolster. She pushes with her heels against the mattress. She rolls onto her back. Floop. The breath leaves her lungs in a rush. She lies flat. The pressure on the shoulder is released. Blood rushes back into the capillaries. A wave of warmth spreads through the joint. Ah, relief. Now she is staring at the ceiling again. She cannot see it, but she knows it is there. She imagines the beams, heavy oak, dark with age. She counts them in her memory. 1 beam over the door, 1 beam over the table, 1 beam over the bed, 3 beams holding up the floor of the neighbor above. She wonders if the beams are tired. Do they get tired of holding up the world? Do they want to lie down too? Stay up, she thinks at the ceiling. Do not rest. I will rest for both of us. She places her hands on her stomach. She feels the fabric of her night tunic. It is bunched up slightly. She smooths it down with her palms. Brush. Brush, the linen feels cool. Her hands feel hot. She leaves her hands there, interlaced over her navel. It is a stable position, symmetrical, balanced. She thinks about the sea. She has seen the sea only twice, once as a child traveling to Ostia. She remembers the sound, the endless rhythmic crashing of the waves against the shore. Crash, hiss, crash, hiss. She tries to replicate that sound in her head. She synchronizes it with her breathing. Inhale, the wave pulls back. Hiss, exhale, the wave crashes. Whoosh. She imagines she is a pebble on the beach, rolling in the surf. Forward, back, forward, back. The water is cold and salty. It washes over her. It is a cleaning sensation. She feels the salt on her skin in the dream memory. She feels the sun on her back. She drifts on the tide. Her mouth is dry again. She moves her tongue against the roof of her mouth. It feels like dry leather rubbing against dry leather. She gathers a tiny amount of saliva. She swallows. Gulp. It helps a little. She thinks about the lemon tree in the neighbor's garden. She imagines biting into a lemon, the sour juice. Her mouth waters instinctively. A biological trick. She swallows again. Better. She feels a draft on her feet. The blanket has pulled up during her roll. Her ankles are exposed to the room air. The cold attacks immediately. It wraps around her ankles like icy manacles. Aelia shivers. She performs the caterpillar maneuver. She cannot use her hands. They are too warm and comfortable. She uses her feet. She digs her heels into the mattress. She scoots her body down the bed. Inch by inch. Scoot. Scoot. She slides deeper into the wool cave. Her feet disappear under the hem of the blanket. They find a pocket of warm air. She holds them there. She is safe again. The fortress is secure. She listens to the silence of the city. It is deeper now than before. The vigils are gone. The carts are gone. The wind is gone. There is absolutely nothing. It is a vacuum of sound. Aelia strains her ears. Is there anything? A cricket? No. A bird? No. Just the ringing in her own ears. A high-pitched tone. Ee. The sound of the nervous system idling. She focuses on the tone. It changes pitch. It goes lower. Ooh. It is a drone. She uses it as a meditation anchor. She rides the drone into the dark. She thinks about the concept of nothing. Niall, what is nothing? Is it the space between the stars? Is it the space inside the jar when the wine is gone? Is it the sleep without dreams? She wants the nothing. She craves the nothing. She invites the nothing into the room. Come here, nothing, she thinks. Sit on the chair. Lie on the floor. Fill the room. She imagines the nothing as a thick gray smoke. It fills the corners. It covers the table. It covers the lamp. It covers her. She is buried in nothing. It is heavy and soft. She feels a twitch in her eyelid, her left eye. Flutter, a tiny muscle spasm. It feels like a butterfly wing beating against her eyeball. She presses her face into the bolster, applying pressure to the eye. The fluttering stops. She keeps the pressure there. It feels good, a heavy, dull pressure. It pushes the world away. She drifts back into the pottery dream, but now the wheel is gone. There is just the clay, a huge mound of gray clay. She is sinking into it. It is soft and cool. It conforms to her body. It holds her up. She is lying in a bed of mud. It sounds dirty, but in the dream it is clean. It is the earth itself hugging her. She feels the weight of the clay on her legs, on her arms. It is the heaviest blanket of all. She sleeps in the mud, peaceful, silent, ancient. A sound comes from outside, a very faint rustle. A leaf blowing across the stones of the courtyard. Scritch, scritch, it stops, then scritch, then silence. Aelia hears it. She wonders briefly what kind of leaf it is. Oak, vine, it doesn't matter. It is a dead leaf traveling in the dark. She feels a kinship with the leaf. She is traveling too, drifting across the surface of the night. She feels the texture of the sheet under her hand. She scratches it with her fingernail. ZZZZT, a tiny sound. She does it again, ZZZZT, checking that she is still real, checking that the bed is still there. It is. She stops. She lets her hand go limp. The fingers curl, relaxed, useless. She thinks about her husband's shield, the scutum, the big rectangular shield, red and gold. She imagines it leaning against a wall in a tent far away. Is it cold? Yes, it must be freezing. She imagines the painted wings on the shield. Do they fly at night? No, they are wood and paint. They stay still, just like her. She is the shield of the house. She stays still. She guards the room with her presence. The darkness seems to press closer. It is pressing against her eyelids. She sees shapes, gray squares, black circles. They pulse slowly, like a heartbeat. Expand, contract, expand, contract. She watches the show. It is boring. It is repetitive. It is perfect for sleep. She swallows again, a dry click in her throat. Kalik, she sighs. She is waiting for the morning, but she is also dreading it. Morning means work. Morning means noise. Night means this beautiful, empty stillness. She hoards the stillness. She gathers it in her arms. She holds it tight. She feels the beat of her own heart. Thump, thump, it is slower now, so slow. It waits a long time between beats. She wonders if it will stop, but then, thump, it continues, faithful, tireless. She thanks her heart. Good muscle, she thinks. Keep beating. I will sleep. She sinks, she drifts. She is a stone falling down a well. Falling, 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 past the bricks, past the water, into the dark earth, into the sleep of the Romans. Quiet, deep, boring rest. The night has advanced into the Gallicinium, the time of the cock crow, though no rooster in the city has yet dared to break the silence. The darkness inside the insula has thickened, becoming a physical substance that fills every corner, every crevice, and every fold of cloth. It is a darkness that feels ancient, as if it has been trapped between these brick walls since the days of the Republic. Aelia lies in the exact center of her bed. She has not moved for 20 minutes. She has become a statue of sleep, carved from flesh and wrapped in wool. Her breathing is the only clock in the room, measuring out the passing of the night in slow, rhythmic intervals. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. It is a steady, hydraulic sound, like the ocean breathing against a distant shore. The air in the room has grown colder still. The warmth of the previous day is a distant memory, erased by the relentless chill of the stone floor and the plaster walls. The room is now a refrigerator of masonry. But inside the bed, Aelia has constructed a fortress of heat. The heavy red wool blanket, tucking in around her shoulders and hips, acts as a seal. Underneath, the air is tropical, humid with her breath and the warmth of her skin. It smells of her, of lavender soap, of unbleached linen, and of the faint, musky scent of sleep. She is dreaming. The dream of the sorting is gone. The dream of the pottery is gone. Now she is dreaming of an olive grove. It is late autumn in the dream. The light is golden and low, casting long shadows across the dry, cracked earth. She's standing under an ancient olive tree. Its trunk is twisted and gnarled, looking like solidified gray lava. The bark is rough against her hand. She's holding a long wooden pole. She reaches up and taps a branch. Tap. A shower of olives falls to the ground. Plop, plop. Plip, plop. They are black and shiny, hitting the canvas sheets spread out on the grass. Aelia watches them fall. It is a rain of fruit. She taps another branch. Tap. More olives fall. She's not in a hurry. She's not tired. She's simply the agent of the harvest. She bends down to gather the olives. She picks them up by the handful. They are cool and oily. She puts them in a basket. The basket fills up, slow, steady. She smells the olives, a sharp, green, bitter smell. She smells the dust of the grove. It is a dream of abundance and repetition. Tap, fall, gather, tap, fall, gather. There is no sound in the dream but the gentle thud of the olives hitting the earth. It is a percussion of peace. In the real room, a small disturbance occurs. The wind outside shifts direction. It comes down from the north now, from the mountains, carrying a heavier chill. It pushes against the window shutter. The wooden bolt holds firm, but the shutter rattles slightly in its frame. Rattle-tink. It is a quiet sound, like a skeleton finger tapping on wood. Aelia stirs. The sound penetrates the wool, penetrates her ear, penetrates the dream. In the olive grove, a wind blows through the branches. The leaves rustle. Shhhh. Aelia shivers in the dream. Then she shivers in the bed. A tiny tremor runs down her spine. Her body reacts automatically. She curls tighter. She pulls her knees up higher, almost touching her chest. She becomes a ball. She buries her nose deeper into the bolster. The bolster smells of dried rosemary. She placed a sprig inside the pillowcase months ago. The scent is faint now, just a ghost of an herb, but the movement releases a fresh molecule of smell. Aelia breathes it in. Sniff, rosemary, the smell of memory, the smell of the kitchen. It is a grounding scent. She sighs into the pillow. The rattle of the shutter fades into the background. The olive grove fades. The darkness returns. She rolls onto her back. This is a slow, tectonic movement. She pushes with her heels. She lifts her hips. The straw mattress crunches loudly in the silent room. Crinkle, crunch, rustle, she flops onto her back. The blanket settles over her like a parachute landing. She stares up at the invisible ceiling. Her eyes are closed, but her mind is active in a low-level, ambient way. She feels the texture of the linen sheet against her legs. The sheet is old. It has been washed 100 times. It is soft, almost silky, but it still has the slight nubby texture of flax. She slides her leg across the sheet. Swish. She seeks a cool spot. The center of the bed is warm, but the edges are cold. She extends her foot to the far corner of the mattress. She finds a patch of uninhabited linen. It is freezing. Oh, it sends a shockwave of cold up her leg, but it is a pleasant shock. A refreshing shock. She leaves her foot there, cooling her blood. She imagines she is dipping her foot into a mountain stream. Cold, clear, rushing water. She holds it there until the sheet warms up. Then she moves her foot back to the center. Thermal regulation complete. She thinks about the concept of the amphora, the clay jars stored in the cellar of the building. She imagines them, rows of tall, pointed jars, filled with wine, filled with oil, filled with grain. She imagines the darkness inside the jars. Is it the same darkness as the room? She decides it is darker. The darkness of the jar is ancient. It has been there since the potter sealed it. She feels a kinship with the wine in the jar. She's sealed in her room, waiting, aging, resting. She imagines she is liquid. She pours herself into the mattress. She fills the shape of the bed, liquid Aelia, heavy, still. She hears a sound from the floor above, a heavy thud, thump, someone has dropped something. A shoe, a book, then silence. Aelia wonders who is awake. Is it the scholar? Is it the baker? She imagines the baker waking up, lighting his oven. She imagines the smell of yeast, but the smell is not here. Here there is only rosemary and dust. She dismisses the baker. She returns to her own silence. Her hand resting on her stomach feels heavy. It feels like it belongs to a statue. She tries to lift a finger, the index finger. It rises slowly, trembling slightly. It feels disconnected from her will, a mechanical lever. She drops it. Plop, it hits the mattress. She abandons control. Sleep hand, she thinks. You have sewn enough. You have washed enough. Just be a hand. She drifts into a state of hypnagogia, the borderland between wakefulness and sleep. She sees images, geometric shapes, a red triangle, a blue circle. They float in the dark. They merge, they separate. She sees a face, a stranger's face, a man with a beard. He looks at her kindly. Then he dissolves into smoke. She sees a horse, a white horse galloping in slow motion. It makes no sound. Its hooves hit the ground, but there is no thunder. It runs through the air. She watches the horse. It is beautiful. It is tireless. She rides the horse in her mind, galloping into the void. She feels a tickle in her throat, a dry spot. She tries to ignore it. She swallows. Gulp, it clicks. The tickle persists. She coughs just once, a small, dry cough. The sound is startlingly loud. It echoes off the stone walls. It breaks the spell of the silence. Aelia freezes. She listens. Did she wake the neighbors? Did she wake the gods? She waits. The silence rushes back in to fill the void left by the cough. It heals the wound in the air. Nothing moves. No one shouts. She is safe. She clears her throat gently. HRRRM. She settles back down. She thinks about the wool blanket again. She traces the origin of the wool in her mind. She imagines the sheep, standing on a hillside in Italy, chewing grass, munch, munch, the wind blowing their fleece. She imagines the shearing, the scissors, snip, snip, the wool falling away. She imagines the spinning wheel, whir, the loom, clack, clack, the dye pot, red madder root bubbling in hot water. She imagines the smell of the wet wool. She feels connected to the history of the blanket. It is not just a cover, it is a story, a boring, practical story of labor and warmth. She pulls the story up to her chin. She wraps herself in the labor of others. It feels protective. The room is settling again. A timber in the roof groans. A low, long sound, thermal contraction. The wood is shrinking in the cold. Aelia incorporates the sound into her sleep. It becomes the sound of a ship's hull. She is on a ship, a grain ship crossing the Mediterranean. The wood creaks as the ship rolls on the waves. Creak, splash, creak, splash. She is lying in the hold, surrounded by sacks of wheat. The smell of the sea is faint. The motion is gentle, rocking her, rocking her. She likes the ship Dream. It is mobile but passive. She is going somewhere, but she doesn't have to walk. She floats on the Roman Sea. She feels a pressure in her hip. The mattress is too hard in that one spot. The straw has parted, leaving her hip bone pressing against a slat of the bed frame. It is a dull pain. She needs to fix it. She performs a micro-adjustment. She lifts her hip. She reaches down with her hand under her body. She smooths the straw. Rustle, rustle. She fluffs it up. She puts her hand back. She lowers her hip. Better. Softness is restored. She sighs. Ha. The pursuit of comfort is the only work of the night. She thinks about the concept of the wall, the city wall of Rome. She imagines it standing guard miles away. Stone blocks, towers, gates. She imagines the sentries walking on top. Are they cold? Yes. Are they tired? Yes. She feels a moment of pity for the sentries. They are awake so she can sleep. She thanks them in her mind. Guard the wall, she whispers to the dark. I will guard the bed. It is a fair division of labor. She feels the darkness pressing against her eyes. It is a heavy velvet weight. She sees purple swirls again. Phosphenes, they dance, they spin. She watches them. It is the cinema of the eyelids, no plot, just color. She finds it soothing, like watching clouds or smoke. Her breathing slows down even further. The gap between the inhale and exhale stretches. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, silence. Then, inhale, she is sipping the air. She is sipping the night. She is a diver at the bottom of the ocean, conserving oxygen. She is almost in hibernation. She thinks about the floor again, the cold, gray stones. She imagines they are ice. She imagines the whole room is an ice cave. But she is the fire. She is the ember in the ash. She glows. She radiates heat. She keeps the ice at bay. It is a cozy image. Fire and ice, wool and stone, life and sleep. She drifts deeper. The ship fades. The sheep fade. The olive grove fades. There is only the gray mist of the deep sleep. She floats in the mist. She turns slowly, weightless. Nameless, she is just a breathing object in a Roman room, waiting for the sun, but hoping it never comes. She loves the dark too much. She loves the quiet too much. She sleeps. And the night continues, indifferent and endless. The night has now entered the deepest part of the Quarta Vigilia, the fourth watch. This is the stretch of time that tests the endurance of the sentries on the walls and the sleepers in their beds. It is the hour when the earth seems to stop spinning, hanging motionless in the void of the universe. The city of Rome is no longer a collection of people. It is a landscape of stone and shadow, cold and indifferent. In the insula, the temperature has reached its absolute minimum. The brick walls have radiated away the last joule of heat stored from the sun. The air inside Aelia's room is crisp, almost sharp. If there were a bowl of water on the floor, a thin skin of ice might begin to form on its surface. But Aelia is not cold. She is the master of her own thermal destiny. Deep inside the nest of the bed, she is maintaining a steady, tropical warmth. She is dreaming. The dream of the olive grove has faded, dissolving into the mist. Now she is dreaming of stone, heavy white stone. She is in a quarry, the marble quarry at Carrara. She sees a massive block of white marble. It is a perfect cube cut from the mountain. It sits on wooden rollers. She is not moving it. She is watching it being moved by invisible forces. Slowly, very slowly. The rollers turn, crunch, grind. The wood groans under the immense weight. The stone moves forward an inch. Then another inch. It is a dream of mass and gravity. Aelia feels the weight of the stone in her own bones. She feels solid, dense, immovable. She watches the white cube slide across the dusty ground. There is no sound of voices, no whips cracking, just the friction of the wood in the stone. Grind, roll, grind, roll. It is a boring spectacle, and Aelia loves it. It confirms that the world is heavy, that the world is stable. She leans against the marble block in the dream. It is cool and smooth. She presses her cheek against the stone. It feels like the cool side of the pillow. In the real room, the silence is so thick it feels like pressure in the ears. Aelia shifts her head. The bolster is compressed under her weight. The feathers inside have been crushed into a dense mat. She lifts her head slightly. She punches the pillow. Whump, a soft, muffled sound. She fluffs it. She lays her head back down. The feathers realign. The softness is restored. She sighs, H-H-H-Ua, a sound of satisfaction. She feels a sensation in her left foot. It is itching. The wool blanket is scratching the sole of her foot. The nerve endings fire. Itch, they signal. Aelia considers the signal in her sleep. To scratch it would require moving her other foot. It would require energy. Is it worth it? She decides to wait. She focuses on the itch. She imagines it is a fly. She imagines the fly flying away. The sensation fades. Mind over matter. The foot relaxes. She thinks about the concept of dust. The room is full of it. Invisible particles floating in the stagnant air. She imagines the dust falling, like snow, settling on the floor, settling on the table, settling on the lamp. She imagines a layer of gray velvet covering the world, soft, quiet, muffling everything. She imagines being covered in dust, like a statue in an abandoned temple. She does not mind. Statues do not have to cook. Statues do not have to worry. They just stand there. Beautiful and still. The air in the room is stale. It has been breathed in and out for hours. Carbon dioxide levels are slightly higher near the bed. This acts as a natural sedative. Aelia takes a deep breath. In, she pulls the air in through her nose. It feels dry. It dries out her nasal passages. Out, she expels the air through her mouth. A warm, humid cloud. She is humidifying her own tent, creating a microclimate of moisture under the wool. She drifts away from the marble quarry. The white stone fades into gray fog. She finds herself in a new dreamscape. She is in a bathhouse, the thermi, but it is empty. She is in the tepidarium, the warm room. The walls are heated. The floor is heated. Steam rises from the vents. Hiss. It is warm and misty. She sits on a bench. She looks at the vaulted ceiling. Condensation drips from the ceiling. Plip, plop. She watches the drops fall into the warm pools below. She feels the humidity on her skin. It soothes her dry throat. She breathes the steam. It tastes of minerals and heat. She is wrapped in a cloud of warm water. She closes her eyes in the dream. She is melting, turning into water, flowing into the drain, joining the river. Back in the bed, her hand twitches. Her fingers drum against her thigh. Tap, tap, a phantom rhythm. Maybe she is playing a lyre in a deeper dream layer. Or maybe it is just a nerve discharging. She stops. The hand goes limp again. Dead weight. She hears a sound from the street. A shutter banging in the wind. No, there is no wind. It is a cat knocking over a pot. Crash, far away. Aelia stirs. The sound is sharp. Danger, her brain asks. No, her logic replies. Distance. Just a pot. Sleep. She accepts the explanation. She sinks back down. She thinks about her hair. The braid is lying across her chest. It feels like a heavy rope. She wonders if she should cut it. Short hair would be easier, like a boy. But no, her husband likes the long hair. She remembers him brushing it. Long strokes, brush, brush. The memory is pleasant. It makes her feel safe. He is guarding her hair, even from far away. She feels a hollowness in her stomach. The hunger is back, but it is a sleepy hunger. She imagines eating a fig, a dried fig, sticky, sweet, crunchy seeds. She chews the imaginary fig. Her jaw moves slightly. Chew, chew. She tastes the phantom sugar. It satisfies her mind, if not her body. She swallows. Gulp. The darkness in the room is absolute. If she opened her eyes, she would see nothing. She keeps them closed. Why look at nothing? Better to look at the dream. She summons the image of a candle, a beeswax candle, tall and yellow, burning with a steady flame. She focuses on the flame, the blue center, the yellow tip. She watches the wax melt, running down the side of the candle. Drip, drip. The wax hardens instantly, layer upon layer of wax tears. She watches the candle burn down, inch by inch. It takes a long time. She has time. She watches until the flame flickers and dies, leaving a trail of smoke. Poof. She feels a stiffness in her neck. The angle of her head is slightly off. She needs to rotate her chin. She lifts her head. She turns it to the left. Crack. A tiny pop in the vertebrae. She lowers her head. The alignment is corrected. The flow of energy is restored. She sighs. Comfort is a constant negotiation with gravity. She thinks about the wool of the blanket again. It is scratchy. She wonders how many sheep are in this blanket. 5, 10. She imagines a flock of sheep huddled together, creating a wall of wool. She is huddled with them. She is a sheep. She bleats softly in her mind. Bah, it is a funny thought. She smiles in the dark, a tiny invisible smile. Then her face relaxes. The smile falls away. Gravity pulls her cheeks down. She returns to the neutral mask of sleep. She listens to the room. The silence is not empty. It is full of pressure. It presses against the walls. It presses against her ears. She feels like she is underwater, deep underwater, where the light does not reach. She is a fish, a sleeping fish, hovering in the dark current. Her gills move slowly. Open, close, she floats, suspended, weightless. She feels a draft on her back. The blanket has slipped a fraction of an inch. The cold air touches her spine. It feels like an ice finger drawing a line down her back. She shivers. Brrr. She arches her back. She reaches behind her with her hand. She grabs the blanket. She pulls it up. She tucks it in tight, blocking the ice finger. The warmth returns. She sighs, victory. She thinks about the concept of the morning. It is coming, inexorable, like the marble block. She cannot stop it, but she can delay acknowledging it. She refuses to look for the light. She refuses to listen for the birds. She stays in the night. She builds a wall against the dawn, a wall of sleep, a wall of dreams. She dreams of a basket, a wicker basket. She is weaving it, bending the willow branches, in and out, over and under. Her hands are strong. The wood is pliable. She weaves a perfect circle, round and round. The basket grows. It is a container for nothing. She finishes the rim. She looks at the empty basket. It is beautiful. It is ready to hold the day, but for now it holds only air. Her breathing deepens. The rhythm becomes slower. Chua. She is a machine of rest, converting darkness into energy, converting silence into peace. She feels the heaviness of her own skeleton. Her bones feel like lead pipes, lying on the mattress. She cannot lift them. She does not want to lift them. She leaves them there. Let gravity have them. She is just the ghost inhabiting the machine, and the ghost is tired. She thinks about the river Tiber, flowing through the city, dark, muddy, powerful. She imagines the water moving under the bridges, swirling around the piers. It never stops, even at night. The river works. She respects the river. Flow on, river, she thinks. Carry the mud to the sea. I will stay here. She drifts deeper, into the Nile, the place where there are no thoughts, only existence. She is a point of consciousness in a vast void. She is not Aelia. She is not a wife. She is just being. It is peaceful. It is boring. It is perfect. She swallows a dry click. She licks her lips. They are chapped. She ignores it. Sleep is more important than hydration. She sinks. She fades. She is gone. The room holds her, the stone box, the cold air, the warm bed. It is a perfect system. Aelia is the battery, charging, almost full, but not yet. She needs more time, more darkness, more silence. She sleeps, and the night waits with her. The night has reached a state of deep, molecular stillness. It is the hour when the stone of the insula feels most like a natural formation, a cliff face hollowed out by time, rather than a building constructed by human hands. The darkness has a weight to it now, a physical pressure that pushes against the shuttered window and settles into the corners of the room like fine, heavy silt. Aelia lies at the bottom of this ocean of air. She's the only warm thing in a universe of cold surfaces. The heat she generates is a precious commodity, trapped jealously beneath the layers of the red wool blanket and the linen sheet. She has curled herself into a shape that defies geometry, a spiral of limbs and fabric, designed to expose the absolute minimum amount of surface area to the chill of the room. She is dreaming. The dream of the marble quarry has ended, the white stone dissolving into a mist of sleep. Now she is dreaming of color. She's standing in a dyer's workshop. The air is thick with steam and the sharp, metallic smell of Mordant's alum and urine. Before her stand 3 large wooden vats. One is filled with a dark, reddish-brown liquid, madder root. One is filled with a pale, greenish-yellow, weld. One is filled with a deep, inky blue, indigo. Aelia is holding a long, sturdy wooden pole. She is stirring the indigo vat. Swish, swirl, the liquid moves heavily. It is thick, almost like oil. She watches the surface. The blue swirls. It creates spirals that form and dissolve, round and round. She dips a skein of white wool into the vat. She pushes it down with the pole. Submerge. She watches the white wool disappear into the darkness of the dye. She holds it there. She counts. 1, 2, 3. She lifts the wool out. It is green. She knows, even in the dream, that indigo comes out green and turns blue when the air touches it. She watches the magic happen. The green wool hits the air. Slowly, like a bruise blooming, it turns blue. Deep Roman blue. She dips it again. Splosh. She stirs. Swish. Swirl. It is a dream of chemistry and patience. There is no rush. The wool must drink the color. She stirs for an eternity. The rhythm of the pole against the wood of the vat is hypnotic. Thump. Swish. Thump. Swish. In the real room, the silence is broken by a microscopic event. A moth, the one that entered earlier in the moonbeam, has finally exhausted itself. It falls from the ceiling. It drifts down through the cold air, a tiny flake of gray dust. It lands on the stone floor near the leg of the stool. Tick, soundless. It folds its wings. It becomes part of the floor. Aelia does not know about the moth. She is too busy turning green wool into blue. She shifts in the bed. Her right arm, tucked under the pillow, has gone numb again. The weight of her head has crushed the circulation. She feels the ants marching in her fingers. Tingle, prickle. It pulls her slightly out of the dream. The indigo vat fades. The steam clears. She is back in the dark room. She groans softly. She needs to rescue her arm. She lifts her head, a heavy, drowsy movement. She pulls her arm out from under the bolster. She shakes it. Flop, flop. The blood rushes back. It feels hot and prickly. She places the arm on top of the blanket, letting it cool down. She lays her head back on the bolster. The feathers crinkle. Crunch. She finds a new hollow for her cheek. She sighs. Haya. She lies on her back now. She stares up into the void. Her eyes are closed, but she is looking at the darkness of her own mind. She thinks about the concept of the amphitheater, not the gladiator fights, not the crowds. She thinks about the empty arena at night. She imagines the sand, smooth, raked. She imagines the stone seats, empty, tier upon tier of gray stone rising into the night sky. She imagines sitting in the highest row, looking down at the empty sand. It is silent. The wind blows through the arches. Woo-oh, she likes the empty arena. It is a bowl of quiet. She fills the bowl with her thoughts. She imagines a single leaf blowing across the sand. Scritch, scritch. She watches the leaf. It stops in the center. It waits, just like her. She feels a coldness on the tip of her nose. Her nose is the only part of her protruding from the blanket. It is acting as a temperature probe. It registers the freezing air of the room. Cold, says the nose. Aelia wrinkles her nose in her sleep. Twitch. She considers pulling the blanket up over her face entirely, but then she would not be able to breathe fresh air. She compromises. She turns her head to the side. She buries her nose in the bolster. The linen warms it up. She breathes through the fabric. The air is filtered, warm, dusty. She is satisfied. She thinks about the clay lamp on the table. She wonders if it is cold. Yes, the clay must be freezing. She imagines the oil inside, congealed, thick. She imagines the wick, black and charred. She feels a sense of pity for the lamp. It gave its light, and now it sits in the dark. Thank you, lamp, she thinks. Rest now. Be cold. I will be warm for you. She feels a hunger pang, a low growl in her stomach. Gurgle. It vibrates through her torso. She feels the movement of gas in her intestines. It is a biological reality. She ignores it. No food, she tells her stomach. Sleep is food. Eat the sleep. She imagines the sleep is a thick, warm porridge. She spoons it into her mind. It fills her up. The growling stops. The stomach accepts the phantom meal. She drifts into a new dream. She is in a forest, a pine forest on a hillside. The ground is covered in brown needles. Soft, springy, she is walking. Crunch, crunch, the smell of pine resin is strong, sharp, clean. She stops at a pile of wood, logs cut and stacked. She begins to stack them again. She picks up a log, rough bark, heavy wood. She places it on a new pile. Thud. She picks up another. Thud. It is a dream of organization, building a wall of wood, log by log. She fits them together, the round shapes nesting. It is satisfying. She builds the wall higher, shoulder height, head height. She is walling herself in with wood, safe inside a fortress of timber. She leans against the wood pile in the dream. It smells of sap. She closes her eyes in the dream and sleeps standing up against the logs. A dream within a dream. Back in the room, the temperature drops again. The frost outside is thickening. The window shutter is coated in a thin layer of white ice crystals on the outside. Inside, the air is so still that a single dust mote takes an hour to fall 1 inch. Aelia is part of the stillness. Her breathing has slowed to 6 breaths a minute. In, long pause, out, long pause. She is in suspended animation, preserving energy, waiting out the siege of the night. She feels a sensation in her left foot. A cramp is threatening. The toes are curling involuntarily. She senses the tension in the arch of her foot. She wakes up slightly. No, she thinks. Relax, she mentally commands the foot. Let go. She flexes the ankle gently. She spreads the toes. The tension dissolves. The cramp retreats. She wiggles the toes to confirm victory. Wiggle, wiggle. They are loose. She sighs. Disaster averted. She thinks about the river Tiber again. She imagines the mud at the bottom of the river. Thick, brown, sludge. She imagines objects lost in the mud. A broken amphora, a lost sandal, a bronze coin. She focuses on the coin, lying in the mud. The emperor's face is covered in silt. He cannot see. He cannot speak. He just lies there, cool and dark. She feels like the coin, buried in the mattress, covered in wool. Silent, forgotten, safe. She listens to the house settling. Creak, a floorboard in the hallway outside her room. Someone walking, no, just the wood moving, or maybe a ghost. Aelia does not fear ghosts. The Manes, they are just ancestors. They are boring too, they just watch. Hello, ghost, she thinks, do not make noise. I am sleeping. The ghost obeys. The floorboard is silent. She feels the texture of the sheet under her cheek. She moves her head slightly. Scuff, the sound of skin on linen. It is a loud sound in her inner ear, like sandpaper. She stops moving. She enjoys the friction. It reminds her that she has skin, that she has a face. Sometimes, in the dark, she forgets she has a body. She feels like a floating point of consciousness. The friction grounds her. She thinks about the concept of tomorrow. It is a heavy concept. Tomorrow means water carrying. Tomorrow means fire lighting. Tomorrow means waiting for news. She pushes tomorrow away. She visualizes a heavy curtain. Velvet, black. She pulls the curtain across the future. Swish, hiding tomorrow. There is only now, only this breath, only this warmth. She drifts back to the indigo vat, but now the vat is the ocean. She is standing on the shore. The water is dark blue ink. The waves roll in. Slosh, slosh, they dye the sand blue. She watches the blue line advance up the beach. It touches her toes. Her toes turn blue. She does not mind. She walks into the ink ocean. She floats. She is a blue woman in a blue sea. She dissolves into the color. She becomes the dye. The room holds her, the stone box, the time capsule. Aelia is the treasure inside, not gold or silver, but life resting life. She breathes out, woo-woo, a long, thin whistle of air. Her lips vibrate slightly. She is an instrument played by sleep. She feels a heaviness in her eyelids. Even closed, they feel heavy, like lead weights are resting on them. She could not open them if she tried. The glue of sleep has sealed them shut. She is glad. She does not want to see the gray room. She wants to see the wood pile, the blue ocean, the empty arena. The landscapes of the mind are better. They are warmer. She feels a sudden twitch in her thumb. Jerk, her hand jumps. It hits her thigh. She ignores it, just a spark in the wiring. She settles back. The hand relaxes. The fingers uncurl. The palm lies open, receiving the dark. She thinks about the olive oil she ate hours ago. She imagines it lubricating her joints, oiling her dreams, making everything smooth. She feels slippery inside. Her thoughts slide into one another. Wood becomes wool, wool becomes water, water becomes stone. It is a fluid logic, the logic of the night. She is deep now, very deep. The Conticinium is ending. The Gallicinium is fully established. The rooster is thinking about waking up, but not yet. He is still dreaming of corn. Aelia is dreaming of silence. They are connected in the great web of sleep. The bird and the woman, waiting for the sun. She swallows a dry click. She moves her tongue. She tastes the morning breath starting to form. It tastes of sleep and emptiness. She accepts it. She is human. She is alive. She sleeps. And the night wraps her in its heavy, boring arms. The night has settled into a cadence of profound quiet. The insula is a vertical labyrinth of sleeping breath, a honeycomb of brick where hundreds of souls are suspended in the amber of dreams. The air in Aelia's room has lost all motion. It hangs heavy and cold, a silent witness to the solitude of the soldier's wife. Aelia lies on her side, her body curved into the shape of a comma. The red wool blanket has become a permanent part of her anatomy, molding to her form like a second, heavier skin. She has not moved for half an hour. She is in the deep trough of the sleep cycle, the place where the body repairs the microscopic tears of the day and the mind files away the useless noise of the city. She is dreaming. The dream of the indigo vat has faded, leaving behind only a lingering sense of blue. Now she is dreaming of metal. She is in a silversmith's shop, but it is quiet. There is no hammering, no fire. She is holding a spool of silver wire. It is thin like a hair, and it shines with a cold, moon-like brilliance. She is winding the wire around her finger. Wind, wind, wind. The metal is cool against her skin. She watches the coil grow, a silver ring forming on her finger. She slides it off. She starts again. Wind, wind. She is making rings for invisible fingers. She places the finished coils on a black velvet cloth. They look like tiny silver springs. She counts them. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is a dream of precision and silence. The silver wire has no end. It spools out forever. She winds and winds, creating order out of a single, infinite line. In the real room, the temperature has dropped to its nightly nadir. The stone floor is freezing. If a drop of water were to fall on it now, it would not freeze, but it would hold its shape, shivering in the cold. Aelia's breath, leaving her nose, forms a faint, ghostly plume in the darkness. Puff. It rises a few inches, then dissipates into the stagnant air. She is a steam engine idling in the dark. She shifts slightly. Her hip bone, pressing into the straw mattress, sends a signal of discomfort. Too hard, the bone says. Aelia receives the signal in her sleep. She initiates a roll. It is a slow, hydraulic movement. She pushes with her heels. She lifts her pelvis. The straw crunches, crinkle crunch. She rotates her spine. She flops onto her back. Whump. The pressure is released. The blood flows back into the capillaries of her hip. She sighs. H-H-H-Chua, a sound of pure relief. Now she is staring up at the ceiling beams again. She cannot see them, but she feels their weight pressing down on the room. She imagines the wood, oak, old and hard. She imagines the grain of the wood, the knots, the splits. She traces the grain in her mind, following a line of wood from one wall to the other. It is a journey across a dark, wooden desert. She walks along the beam in her mind, carefully, placing one foot in front of the other. Don't look down, just the wood. She feels a sensation in her right hand. It is resting on her stomach. Her fingers are interlaced. She feels the ring on her finger, her wedding ring, a simple iron band. She spins it with her thumb. Twist, twist, the metal is smooth. It warms up quickly under her touch. It is a fidget, a way to discharge a tiny spark of restless energy. She spins it 3 times, then she stops. The ring settles. She feels the weight of the iron. It anchors her hand to her body. It anchors her life to the soldier far away. She thinks about the rain, not the rain of the memory, but the concept of rain. She imagines a rainstorm over the ocean. Gray water meeting gray sky, rain falling into the sea. Hiss, splash, millions of drops disappearing into the waves. It seems pointless. Why rain on the ocean? The ocean is already wet, but nature does not care about pointlessness. It just rains. Aelia finds comfort in this indifference. The universe does not need her to understand it. It just does what it does. She imagines she is a raindrop, falling from a cloud, falling for a long time, then hitting the water, plop, dissolving, becoming the ocean. Her breathing changes rhythm. It becomes deeper. In, hold, out, hold. She is savoring the air, tasting the dust, tasting the cold. It tastes of stone. Old stone, she likes the taste. It is the flavor of Rome. She feels a draft on her neck. The blanket has slipped down a fraction. Her throat is exposed. The cold air touches her skin like a wet finger. She flinches, twitch. She pulls her chin down, tucking it into her chest. She shrugs her shoulders up, bringing the blanket with them. The gap is closed. Warmth returns. She nuzzles the wool. It is scratchy, but she forgives it. Scratchy is better than freezing. She thinks about the oil lamp again. She wonders if the wick is still warm. No, it must be cold by now. She imagines the blackened tip of the flax. She imagines the smell of the extinguished flame. Smoke, ash, she remembers the smell. It is a nostalgic scent, the smell of the end of the day. She inhales deeply, trying to find a trace of the smoke in the room. But it is gone, scrubbed away by the hours. There is only the smell of lavender and stone. She hears a sound from the street, a distant shout. A drunkard, a watchman. Hey, just one word, muffled by the walls. It sounds lonely. Aelia feels a pang of sympathy. Who is shouting in the dark? Is he lost? Is he cold? She sends him a thought. Go home. Find a bed. Sleep. The shout does not repeat. Maybe he heard her. Maybe he fell down. Maybe he found a door. Silence returns. She drifts into a new dream. She is in a bakery, but it is night. The ovens are cold. She is standing in front of a pile of flour sacks. She cuts one open. Slice. The flour spills out. White, soft, silent. It piles up on the floor. She steps into the flour. Her bare feet sink into the soft powder. It feels cool and silky. She walks through the flower, leaving footprints. She watches her own footprints. They are perfect. She walks in a circle, creating a ring of footprints. She walks and walks. The flower muffles her steps. It is a silent dance in a white room. She feels a twitch in her calf muscle, a tiny spasm. Flick, it feels like a fish jumping under her skin. She flexes her foot, pointing the toes, stretching the muscle. The spasm stops. She relaxes the foot. It feels heavy again, a log of flesh. She thinks about the concept of the morning muster. She imagines her husband standing in line, armor shining, face stern. She imagines the centurion shouting. She imagines the sound of 500 sandals hitting the ground at once. Thump, it is a powerful sound, but here in the room there is only the sound of her breath, h-h-h-ua. She prefers her sound. It is softer. It is hers. She feels the darkness pressing against her eyes. She sees a green shape, a square. It rotates. It turns into a diamond, then a circle, then a star. She watches the geometry lesson. It is hypnotic. Green shapes on a black board. She tries to control them. Make a triangle, she thinks. The shape wobbles, then becomes a triangle. She smiles in her mind. She is the master of the shapes. Make a bird. The shape tries. It sprouts wings. It looks like a green blob with arms. Close enough. She watches the green blob fly away. She swallows, her throat clicks, kaloke. She feels the movement of her larynx, up and down. She feels the passage of air, cool in the nose, warm in the throat. She focuses on the transition point, where the cool becomes warm, somewhere at the back of the palate. She holds her attention there. It is a tiny sensation, but it is enough to anchor her. She feels the weight of the blanket on her toes. It feels heavy. She wiggles her big toe. It creates a tiny tent in the wool. She collapses the tent. She does it again. Up, down, up, down. It is a game. Tent, she thinks. Flat, tent, flat. It is the simplest game in the world, and the most boring, and therefore the best for sleep. She drifts deeper. The bakery fades. The silver wire fades. There is only the gray fog. She floats in the fog. She is weightless. She is spinning slowly, like a leaf falling in a well. She falls past the level of dreams. She falls past the level of thoughts. She enters the Nile, the nothing, the place where Aelia stops being Aelia. She is just a breathing stone, a sleeping atom in the Roman night. She hears the wind pick up again outside. Whoosh, it rattles the shutter. Rattle-tack, but she is too deep now. The sound does not wake her. It just becomes part of the texture of the silence. A ripple in the pond. She sleeps on, unmoved, unbothered, safe in her wool castle. She sighs again, a long, slow exhale. Woo-woo, her lips flutter. She is completely relaxed. Her face is a mask of peace. The lines of worry are smoothed out. The brow is clear. She looks younger in her sleep. She looks like the girl who watched the rain in the atrium. Before the soldier, before the city, before the waiting. Just a girl sleeping in the dark. The night continues. The stars wheel overhead. The moon sinks lower. The city waits, and Aelia sleeps. Quiet, boring, beautiful, asleep. The night has entered the stretch of time known as the silentium, the deep quiet. It is an hour that belongs to no one, not to the late revelers, not to the early bakers. It is a hollow space in the chronology of the empire, a vacuum where the city holds its breath before the exertion of the coming day. In the insula, the air is motionless. The temperature has stabilized at a chill that penetrates the brickwork and settles into the marrow of the building. The stone floor is a frozen lake of gray slate. The wooden beams of the ceiling are stiff with cold, holding up the roof with a silent, rigid endurance. Aelia lies in the center of her bed, a warm, breathing island in the cold room. She has not moved for 40 minutes. She is in the deepest trough of the sleep cycle, the delta wave sleep, where the mind is completely untethered from the body. She is no longer Aelia the wife, Aelia the neighbor, or Aelia the Roman. She is simply a biological entity, existing in the dark. She is dreaming. The dream of the silver wire has faded, dissolving into the ether. Now she is dreaming of a warehouse, a horium. It is a massive building near the Tiber docks. The ceiling is high, lost in shadows. The air smells of dry dust, old timber, and millions of grains of wheat. Aelia is walking down a long aisle between towering stacks of burlap sacks. The sacks are piled 20 feet high. They are heavy, bulging with grain from Egypt. She walks slowly, step, step, step. Her sandals make a soft, scuffing sound on the dusty floor. She runs her hand along the sacks as she passes. The burlap is rough, scratchy. She feels the grain inside the sacks, hard little kernels. She counts the stacks. Row 1, row 2, row 3. It is a dream of immense storage, of abundance locked away in the dark. She stops at a sack that has a small hole. A tiny stream of wheat is trickling out. SHHH, click click. The grains hit the floor. A small golden pyramid is forming. Aelia watches the pyramid grow, grain by grain. It is a slow, mesmerizing process. She does not try to stop it, she just watches. The flow of the wheat is like an hourglass, measuring a time that does not matter. She stands there for an eternity in the dream, watching the grain fall. SHHH, SHHH. In the real room, the silence is so profound that the sound of Aelia's own breathing seems loud to her subconscious ear. HHHua, HHHua. It is the rhythm of the room, the only movement in a still life. She shifts her head slightly on the bolster. The feathers inside crunch softly. Crinkle, her ear, which has been pressed against the linen for an hour, is hot and red. She lifts her head. She turns the pillow over. Flop. She lays her head on the other side. The linen here is cool. Ah, the sensation of the cool fabric against her hot ear is exquisite. It sends a shiver of pleasure down her neck. She sighs. A long, contented release of air. She nuzzles into the coolness, claiming it. She feels a sensation in her left knee, a stiffness. She needs to stretch the joint. Slowly, under the heavy weight of the wool blanket, she extends her leg. She pushes her heel toward the bottom of the bed. She locks the knee. She points the toes. A satisfying stretch runs up her calf and thigh. She holds it. 1, 2, 3. Then she releases. The leg goes limp. It feels longer now, looser. She lets it rest in the new position, fully extended. She thinks in the vague, drifting way of the sleeper about the concept of bronze. She owns a small bronze mirror. She imagines polishing it. She sees the dull, tarnished metal. She imagines a rag with a little oil and pumice. She rubs the metal. Rub, 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 circular motions. She watches the tarnish disappear. She watches the gold color of the bronze emerge. She sees her own reflection appearing in the metal, distorted, hazy. She rubs until the reflection is clear. It is a satisfying task. Restoring the shine, she polishes the mirror in her mind for a long time. Rub, shine, rub, shine. It is a loop of cleaning. Outside, a cat walks across the roof tiles. Click, click, click. Its claws make a tiny, sharp sound on the terracotta. Aelia hears it. It enters her dream. In the grain warehouse, she hears a sound in the rafters. She looks up. She sees nothing but shadows. Just a cat, she thinks in the dream. The guardian of the grain. She feels safer knowing the cat is there. She goes back to watching the wheat trickle. She feels a draft on her forehead. The blanket has slipped down just below her eyebrows. Her forehead is exposed to the freezing air of the room. It feels like a band of ice across her skull. She frowns slightly. Wrinkle. She tries to generate heat by furrowing her brow. It doesn't work. She needs to cover up. She moves her hand from her chest. It finds the edge of the blanket. She pulls it up. Tug over her eyes, over her forehead. She leaves only a tiny tunnel for her nose to breathe. She is buried. The warmth returns to her forehead. The frown relaxes. She is a turtle retracting into its shell. She thinks about the water clock in the city square, the clepsydra. She imagines the water dripping from one vessel to another. Drip, 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 marking the hours. She wonders what hour it is now. Is it the hour of the ox, the hour of the wolf? It doesn't matter. Time is fluid in the dark. She imagines she is inside the water clock. She's swimming in the bottom vessel. The water level is rising slowly, lifting her up toward the morning, but very slowly. She floats on the surface of time. She feels a heaviness in her eyelids. Even though they are closed, she presses them tighter. Squeeze. She sees bursts of color. Orange stars, purple clouds. She watches the fireworks of her own retina. It is a private show. Silent explosions in the dark. She thinks about the smell of beeswax. She imagines a block of yellow wax. She imagines smelling it, sweet, earthy. She imagines polishing a table with the wax. Rub, rub, the wood drinks the wax. It becomes smooth and shiny. She likes the feeling of smooth wood. She runs her hand over the imaginary table. No splinters, no rough spots, just perfect smoothness. Her breathing catches for a second, a tiny interruption in the rhythm. A hiccup, no, just a pause, then it resumes. HHHua, deeper this time. She rolls onto her stomach again. This is a major maneuver. She lifts her chest. She twists her hips. The mattress crunches loudly. Crunch rustle. She settles onto her front. She turns her head to the right. She splays her arms out under the pillow. She feels like she is hugging the earth. Gravity pulls her down. She feels heavy, anchored. This is her favorite position, the position of total surrender. She listens to the silence of the insula. It is not empty silence. It is full of presence. She feels the presence of the sleeping neighbors, the baker below, the scholar above. They are all radiating sleep. It feels like a thick, gray blanket covering the building. She adds her sleep to the collective pile. Sleep well, Rome, she thinks. We are all safe. She feels a hunger pang, a hollow feeling in her gut. She imagines eating a piece of cheese, hard, salty pecorino. She imagines the crumble of the cheese in her mouth, the sharp flavor. She chews the phantom cheese. Her jaw moves slightly. Grind. She swallows. Gulp. The taste is not there, but the idea satisfies her. She goes back to sleep. She drifts into a new dream. She is walking on a road. The Via Appia, straight, flat, paved with large stones. Cypress trees line the road, tall, dark green flames. She is walking alone. The sun is setting. The sky is purple and gold. She walks past tombs and monuments. They are silent. She reads the names on the stones: Julia, Marcus, Flavius. She does not know them. She just walks, step, step. The road goes on forever. There is no city ahead, no city behind, just the road. And the trees and the sunset. She feels peaceful. Walking is easy in the dream. Her legs are light. She floats over the stones. She feels a tickle on her arm, inside the sleeve of her tunic. A loose thread or a hair, it tickles her bicep. She flexes her arm. She rubs her arm against the mattress. Rub, rub. The tickle stops. She relaxes the arm. It feels heavy again. Lead weights. She thinks about the concept of the key again. She checks the lock in her mind. Is the door bolted? She visualizes the iron bolt, slid across. Solid. Yes, she is safe. The world cannot get in. The cold cannot get in. Only the silence can get in, and she welcomes the silence. She feels the texture of the bolster against her cheek. It is rough linen. She counts the threads in the weave with her cheek skin. It feels like a grid. She presses her face into the grid. It leaves a mark on her skin, a sleeping mark. She doesn't care. She likes the pressure. It holds her head in place. She hears the wind again, a soft whistle. Woo, it sounds like it is asking to come in. No, thinks Aelia, stay out. I am warm. She pulls the blanket tighter. She seals the cocoon. She is the queen of the warm space. She drifts deeper. The road fades. The bronze mirror fades. The grain store fades. There is only the gray void. She floats in the void. She is nothing. She is no one. She is just a breath. In, out, in, out. She swallows again. Her mouth is dry, but she is too tired to get water. She will drink in the morning. For now, she drinks the darkness. It is cool and thick. It quenches her mind. She sleeps deeply, boringly, perfectly. The night holds her. The stone holds her. The empire holds her, and she rests. The night hangs over the city like a heavy, dark tapestry. The silence in the insula has thickened, becoming a physical weight that presses against the plaster walls and fills the empty spaces between the furniture. It is the hour when the stone of the building feels most ancient, as if the bricks themselves are sleeping, dreaming of the clay from which they were dug. Aelia lies submerged in the deep, motionless ocean of the room. She is the only warm thing in a universe of cold surfaces. Her body is curled into a tight, defensive knot under the red wool blanket. She has not moved for a long time. She is a statue of flesh, breathing shallowly, her heart beating a slow, steady rhythm against the straw mattress. Thump, thump, thump. It is the only clock that matters. She is dreaming. The dream of the grain warehouse has faded, the golden pyramids of wheat dissolving into the gray mist of sleep. Now she is dreaming of a kitchen. Not her own small kitchen, but a large, airy kitchen in a country villa. The light is bright and clean. She is standing at a heavy wooden table. In front of her is a large ceramic mixing bowl, a mortarium. It has grit embedded in the clay to help with grinding. She holds a stone pestle, a pistillum. It is smooth and heavy in her hand. She is grinding herbs, dried coriander seeds. Round, brown, brittle. She presses the pestle down. Crunch, the seeds break. She rotates the pestle against the side of the bowl. Grind, grind, grind. It is a circular motion. Her wrist turns, her elbow turns, her shoulder turns. It is a rhythm of destruction and creation, turning seeds into powder. She smells the spice rising from the bowl, a sharp, earthy, citrusy scent. It fills the dream kitchen. She adds more seeds. Scatter. She grinds again. Grind, grind. The sound of the stone against the pottery is rhythmic and soothing. It sounds like the earth talking to itself. She grinds for an eternity. There is no meal to prepare, no guests to feed, just the grinding, just the smell, just the dust. In the real room, the air is stagnant. A tiny current of cold air moves along the floor, seeking the warmth of the bed. It finds a small gap near Aelia's shoulder where the blanket has tented slightly. The cold air slips in. It touches her neck. It feels like a wet leaf landing on her skin. Aelia stirs. The sensation enters the dream. A cool breeze blows through the window of the villa kitchen. It cools the sweat on her brow in the dream. But in the bed, it is just cold. Aelia reacts instinctively. She hunches her shoulder. She presses her chin down into her chest. She collapses the tent of the blanket. The gap closes. The cold air is cut off. The warmth begins to rebuild in the pocket of wool. She sighs. Chua. Comfort is restored. She rolls onto her side. The mattress creates a symphony of small sounds. Rustle, Crunch, squeak, the straw compresses. The wood frame groans. She settles on her left side. She tucks her hand under her cheek. The bolster feels warm. She pushes it away slightly to find a cooler patch of linen. Ah, cool, smooth. She presses her face into it. She feels the weave of the fabric against her skin. It feels rough and real. She hears a sound from outside, very faint, a tintinnabulum, a wind chime, hanging on a neighbor's balcony, perhaps 3 floors up. It is made of bronze. A stray gust of wind has touched it. Tink, tink, tink. The sound is high and clear. It cuts through the heavy silence of the night. Aelia hears it in her sleep. It does not wake her. It weaves into her dream. The grinding stops. She looks out the window of the villa. She sees a bird, a bronze bird. It is singing. Tink, tink. She smiles in the dream. It is a pretty sound, a lonely sound. Sing, bird, she thinks. Sing to the night. The wind dies. The chime stops. Silence returns to the city. She feels a heaviness in her legs. They feel like logs of wood, dense, immovable. She imagines her legs are roots, growing down through the mattress, growing down through the floor, into the earth of Rome. She is rooted to the spot. She cannot be moved, not by the wind, not by the dawn. She is a tree of sleep. She thinks about the concept of the amphora again, but this time it is broken. She sees shards of clay on the ground, curved pieces, orange and brown. She is picking them up, 1 piece, 2 pieces. She fits them together like a puzzle. She traces the crack with her finger. It is a jagged line. She tries to mend the jar with her mind. She smooths the crack. The clay knits together. The jar becomes whole again. It is a dream of repair, of fixing the broken things. She looks at the whole jar. It is perfect. She feels satisfied. She swallows. Her throat is dry. The air in the room has sucked the moisture from her mouth. She moves her tongue. It feels sticky. She thinks about water, cool, clear water in a silver cup. She imagines drinking it. The sensation of the liquid flowing over her tongue. It is almost real. Her body reacts. A tiny amount of saliva is produced. She swallows again. Gulp. It is enough. The thirst recedes. She feels a twitch in her eyelid, the right one. Flutter. It feels like a tiny moth is trapped under the skin. She scrunches her eyes tight, squeeze, then releases. The fluttering stops. The muscle relaxes. She stares into the back of her eyelids. She sees a gray fog. It swirls slowly, like smoke in a jar. She watches the smoke. It forms shapes, a circle, a line, a cloud. She watches them dissolve. It is the cinema of the bored mind. She thinks about the linen chest at the foot of the bed. She imagines the smell of the lavender inside. She imagines the stacks of folded tunics. White, gray, red. She counts them in her mind. 1 tunic, 2 tunics, 3 tunics. She imagines unfolding one, shaking it out, snap. The sound of fabric in the air. She imagines folding it again, corner to corner, smooth. It is a loop of domestic order. Unfold, fold, unfold, fold. It calms her. It reminds her that her life is organized. That she is ready for the day, whenever it comes. She feels the weight of the blanket on her feet. Her feet are warm now, toasty. She wiggles her toes. They brush against each other. Skin on skin, it feels friendly. Hello, toes, she thinks. You are warm. Stay warm. She anchors her feet against the mattress, pushing down, feeling the resistance of the straw. It feels solid. She drifts deeper, into the layer of sleep where there are no images, only sensations, warmth, heaviness, softness. She is floating in a tank of warm oil. She is weightless. She turns slowly in the dark fluid. She is safe. Nothing can touch her here. No bad news, no hard work, just the oil and the dark. She hears a sound from the floor below, a baby crying, just for a second. Wah, then it stops, silenced by a mother or a pacifier. Aelia hears it. It triggers a faint maternal instinct, then fades. Hush, baby, she thinks. Sleep. The night is for sleeping. The silence returns, heavier than before. She feels a stiff spot in her neck. She rolls her head on the pillow. Left, right, massaging the muscles against the bolster. It feels good. A dull ache that turns into relief. She finds a new position. Chin tucked down, forehead resting on the cool edge. She sighs. HNNNN. She thinks about the Roman Forum. She imagines it at night. The white marble columns glowing in the moonlight. The statues of the emperors standing in the shadows. She walks among them in her mind. They are silent. Stone eyes watching nothing. She touches a statue's robe. It is cold stone. She likes the statues. They are quiet. They don't move. They are good company for a sleeper. She stands next to a statue of Augustus. She leans against the plinth. She waits with him. For what? For nothing. Just waiting. The room cools down another degree. The frost on the roof tiles thickens, but Aelia is oblivious. She is a furnace. She radiates life. She is the ember in the ash of the city. She breathes out. Woo-woo, a long, thin stream of air. She is completely relaxed. Her hands are limp. Her legs are heavy. Her mind is blank. She thinks about a spool of thread, unwinding. a long white thread falling into a void. She watches it fall. Down, down, down. It never hits the bottom. It just unspools forever. She follows the thread with her mind, falling with it, into the deep, boring, beautiful dark. She swallows, a click, she shifts her leg. Rustle, she settles, she sleeps. The night holds her. The stone holds her, and she is at peace. The night has stretched into a vast, timeless expanse. It is the hour when the city of Rome seems to have dissolved into the earth, leaving behind only the heavy, silent geometry of its buildings. The insula stands like a cliff face in the dark, its brickwork cool to the touch, its windows like closed eyes. Inside Aelia's room, the atmosphere is dense and motionless. The air has settled into layers of cold, with the heaviest, chilliest air pooling on the floor, waiting to catch a bare foot. Aelia lies in the center of the bed, a warm, breathing nucleus in the cold cell. She is curled on her right side, her body forming a tight S-shape. The red wool blanket is pulled up to her ear, creating a hood of fabric that traps the heat of her breath. Inside this hood, the air is humid and tropical. Outside, it is arid and freezing. She is dreaming. The dream of the kitchen and the grinding stone has faded, leaving only a faint scent of coriander in her memory. Now she is dreaming of a floor, a mosaic floor. She is kneeling on the ground. The surface is wet mortar, lime and sand. It smells of wet chalk. Beside her is a basket of tesserae, small cubic stones. Some are black basalt, some are white limestone. She is laying a pattern. She picks up a black stone. It is cool and rough. She presses it into the mortar. Squish. It sinks in. She levels it with her thumb. She picks up a white stone. She places it next to the black one. Squish. She is making a meander pattern, the Greek key. A line that turns back on itself, over and over, right, down, left, up, right, down, left, up. She works with infinite patience. There is no deadline, no master to please, just the stones and the mud. Pick, place, press, pick, place, press. She watches the line grow. It creates a border that stretches away into the distance. She crawls forward on her knees to keep working. The repetition is hypnotic. Black, white, black, white. It is a binary code of stone. She finds peace in the precision. Every stone has a place. Every stone fits. The world is made of little squares, and she is putting them in order. In the real room, the silence is so deep that the settling of a dust mote seems like a significant event. Aelia shifts her legs. The blanket drags across the mattress. Swish shhh. The sound is muffled, absorbed by the straw. Her foot finds a cold spot on the sheet. She recoils slightly. Twitch. She pulls her foot back into the warm zone. She rubs her feet together. Frot, frot. Generating friction, generating heat. She sighs. Chua. A sound of contentment. She feels a sensation in her right arm. She has been lying on it. The blood flow is slowing down. The limb feels heavy and thick. She knows she needs to move it before it falls asleep completely. She initiates a slow-motion rescue mission. She lifts her shoulder. She drags the arm out from under her body. It feels like a dead weight, a log of wood. She places it on top of her hip. She flexes the fingers. Open, close, open, close. She feels the blood returning, a faint tingling. The ants marching back into her hand. ZZZZT. She waits for the sensation to pass. It fades. The hand becomes hers again. She leaves it there, resting on the curve of her hip, a stabilizing weight. She thinks about the concept of the reservoir, the great cisterns of the city. She imagines them underground, vast vaulted chambers, filled with dark, still water. She imagines the surface of the water, black, glassy, reflecting the stone arches above. She imagines a single drop of water falling from the roof. Drip, it hits the surface. Ripples spread out, perfect circles, expanding, expanding, until they hit the walls and bounce back. She watches the interference pattern of the ripples in her mind. It is complex, it is beautiful, it is silent. She floats on the water in the cistern, drifting in the dark, supported by the liquid, cool, deep, endless. She hears a sound from the street, a dog shaking itself. Flap, 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 flap. The sound of ears hitting a skull, then the jingle of a metal tag. Ching. Aelia hears it. Dog, her brain whispers. Wet dog, maybe, or just a cold dog. She feels a moment of sympathy. Shake it off, dog, she thinks. Find a corner. The sound stops. The silence returns, heavier than before. She feels the texture of the bolster against her cheek. She pushes her face into it. The linen is rough. She feels the individual threads pressing into her skin. She imagines the flax plant that made the linen, growing in a field, blue flowers, wind blowing. She imagines the harvesting, the retting, the spinning, the long journey from a blue flower to a pillowcase in Rome. It makes her feel connected to the earth. She's sleeping on a field of flowers, compressed and woven, but still a field. She thinks about the smell of garum, the fish sauce factories near the coast. She imagines the smell, salty, pungent, ancient. It is the smell of preservation, salt keeping decay at bay. She imagines the jars of sauce sitting in the sun, fermenting, bubbling slowly. Bloop. It is a slow, chemical magic. She finds the thought comforting. The sauce is making itself. While she sleeps, the chemistry continues. While she sleeps, the world ferments. She feels a draft on her forehead. The blanket has slipped down a fraction. Her brow is exposed. The cold air touches it. It feels like a cool metal coin placed on her head. She frowns, wrinkles. She tries to move her head to escape the cold. She buries her nose deeper into the pillow. She pulls her chin down. The blanket moves up slightly, covering the brow. The coin is removed. Warmth returns. She relaxes her face. Gravity takes over. Her cheeks slide down. Her mouth opens slightly. She is a mask of peace. She thinks about the stairs of the insula, the wooden steps leading up to her door. She counts them in her mind. Step 1, creak. Step 2, thud. Step 3, squeak. She climbs the stairs in her imagination, up to the 3rd floor, up to the 4th floor, up to the roof. She stands on the roof in her mind, looking out over Rome. The city is a sea of black roofs, chimneys, tiles, pigeons sleeping. She looks at the stars, millions of white dots. She tries to connect them, make a shape, a square. A triangle, a line. She draws constellations with her mind. The bed, the pillow, the sandal, new stars for a sleeping woman. She feels a hollowness in her stomach. The digestion is finished. The tank is empty. She imagines a loaf of bread, round, warm, breaking open, steam rising. She imagines the smell of the yeast. She inhales deeply in the room. Sniff. There is no bread smell, only dust, but her mind provides the scent, phantom yeast. It soothes the hunger. She swallows, gulp. She goes back to sleep. She drifts back to the mosaic dream, but now the pattern has changed. She's making a circle, a rosette, black petals, white center. She places the stones, click, click, click. She works in a spiral, from the center out. The circle grows. It is a mandala of stone. She gets lost in the spiral. Round and round, she's spinning with the pattern, slowly, like a top running out of energy, wobbling, stopping. She hears a sound from the wall, a tiny scratching. Scritch, scratch, a beetle, inside the plaster, trying to get out or trying to get deeper in. Aelia listens. It sounds like a tiny writer scratching on parchment with a dry pen. Write your story, beetle, she thinks. Write it in the wall. The sound stops. The beetle rests. Aelia rests. She feels the weight of the blanket on her toes. It feels heavy. She pushes her toes up against the wool, creating a little tent. She holds it up, stretching the arch of her foot. Then she drops it. Flop. The tent collapses. She does it again. Up, down, up, down. It is a tiny exercise, a message to her feet. You are still there. I am still here. She thinks about the concept of the dawn, the aurora. She knows it is coming. The sun is relentless, but for now it is still far away, behind the mountains, behind the curve of the earth. She pushes the dawn away. She builds a wall of black bricks in her mind, blocking the east. Stay down, sun, she whispers to the dark. I am not done with the night. I have more stones to lay. I have more sleep to sleep. She breathes out a long, slow whistle. Woo-woo. The air leaves her lungs. She sinks deeper into the mattress. She feels heavy, denser than gold, denser than lead. She is a heavy element on the periodic table of sleep. She cannot be moved. She is a fixture of the room, like the chest, like the table, Aelia the sleeper. She drifts deeper, into the fog, the gray, warm fog of the Nile. She floats, she dissolves. She is gone. Only the body remains, breathing, in, out, in, out. The machine works perfectly. The mind is off. The night is on, and the silence is absolute. The night has entered the interlunar phase, the dark stretch between the setting of the moon and the rising of the sun. It is the darkest part of the night. The insula is a solid block of shadow, indistinguishable from the black sky above it. The silence is profound. It is not just a lack of noise. It is a heavy, damp blanket that smothers the city. The stones of the street, the bricks of the walls, and the tiles of the roof are all radiating a deep, persistent cold. Aelia lies in the exact center of her bed. She has not moved for 45 minutes. She has become a masterpiece of stillness. Her breathing is so shallow and quiet that if a feather were placed on her lips, it would barely flutter. In, out. She is conserving every atom of energy, every joule of heat. The room around her is a hostile environment of freezing air, but inside the red wool blanket, she is maintaining a fragile, tropical ecosystem. She is dreaming. The dream of the mosaic floor has ended. The black and white stones have stopped clicking. Now she is dreaming of wool, raw wool. She is in a shearing shed. It is dim and smells strongly of lanolin, the greasy, natural oil of sheep. In front of her is a mountain of raw fleece. It is off-white, tangled, and heavy with dirt and straw. She is sorting it. She reaches into the pile with both hands. The wool feels greasy and warm. It coats her fingers in oil. She pulls a chunk free. Tear. It makes a soft, fibrous sound as the strands separate. She examines it. Fine, she decides. She throws it into a basket on her left. Flump. She reaches in again. She pulls another chunk. This one is coarse, scratchy. Rough, she decides. She throws it into a basket on her right. Flump. It is a dream of tactile sensation, the slippery grease, the crimp of the fiber, the smell of the animal. She sorts and sorts. Left, right. The mountain of fleece never gets smaller. She does not mind. She likes the grease on her hands. It makes her skin feel soft. She likes the rhythm. Pull, check, throw, pull, check, throw. She is buried in the wool, safe, warm, oily. In the real room, the air is stagnant. A tiny spider, suspended in its web in the corner, feels the cold. It pulls its legs in tight, becoming a tiny ball of life waiting for the warmth. Aelia shifts. The dream of the wool has triggered a sensation in her hands. She rubs her thumb across her fingertips. Rub, expecting to feel the grease. But she feels the dry, rough weave of the sheet. The contrast is sharp. Her brain registers dry. She stops rubbing. She relaxes her hand. It lies flat on the mattress, a dry, clean hand. She feels a stiffness in her lower back. The mattress has compressed too much under her hips. The support is gone. She needs to realign her spine. She initiates a slow roll. She pushes with her heels. She arches her back. Crack, a tiny pop in her lumbar vertebrae. She sighs. Ah. She lowers her back. She wiggles her hips slightly to redistribute the straw. Crunch, rustle. She settles back down. The pressure is relieved. She feels taller in the bed. She thinks in the slow, liquid thoughts of the sleeper about the concept of the arch, the Roman arch. She visualizes building one. She sees the wooden scaffolding. She sees the wedge-shaped stones, the voussoirs. She lifts a stone in her mind, heavy, gray. She places it on the wooden frame. She lifts another. She builds up the sides, curving inward. She reaches the top, the gap in the middle. She holds the keystone, the most important stone. She lowers it into place. Thud, it locks the arch together. She removes the scaffolding. The arch stands. It holds its own weight. Gravity holds it together. She finds this immensely satisfying. A structure that works because it is heavy. She walks through the arch in her mind, into the shade, into the quiet. She hears a sound from the street, far away, a heavy door closing. Boom, it is a dull, resonant sound like a drum beat underground. Aelia hears it. It travels through the floor, into the bed legs, into her ear. She incorporates it into her sleep. It becomes the sound of a stone falling in a well, splash, deep water. She watches the ripples in her mind, expanding, fading. The silence returns, healing the wound in the air. She feels a coldness on her ear. The ear facing up is exposed to the room air. It feels like ice. She tries to cover it without moving her arms. She hunches her shoulder up. It touches her ear. Warm flesh meets cold flesh. It helps a little, but not enough. She decides to turn her head. She rolls her head to the other side, burying the cold ear in the bolster. Ah! The linen warms it up instantly. She sighs. HNNNGH. She leaves her other ear exposed. It is a sacrifice. One ear must be cold, so the other can be warm. It is the economy of the bed. She thinks about the concept of honey, not the taste but the structure, the honeycomb. She imagines the wax cells, perfect hexagons. She traces the shape in her mind, 6 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She stacks the hexagons, fitting them together perfectly, no gaps. She fills them with gold liquid, slowly pouring the honey. It fills the corners first, then rises. She watches the level go up. It is a slow, viscous dream. She seals the cell with a cap of wax. Pat. Stored energy, stored summer. She feels like a bee, sleeping in the hive, vibrating gently with the colony. She feels a hunger pang, a dull ache in the center of her torso. Her body wants fuel. She ignores it. No, she thinks, sleep is the fuel. She imagines she is a lizard on a rock, absorbing heat from the sun. She doesn't need to eat. She just needs to lie there, absorbing the warmth of the blanket. It works. The hunger fades into a background signal. She feels a draft near her feet. She wiggles her toes, checking the seal of the blanket. It feels tight, but her feet are still cold. The blood has retreated to her core. She rubs her feet together, swish swish, like 2 dry sticks. She tries to start a fire with her feet. Friction, heat. It warms them up slightly. She tucks one foot under the other, sharing the warmth. She holds them there, locked together. She drifts into a new dream. She is in a library, a room full of scrolls. Volumina. They are stacked in cubby holes, hundreds of them. She takes one out. The parchment is old and yellow. She unrolls it. Crinkle. It is blank. She takes another one, unrolls it. Blank. She checks them all, row after row. All blank. She is not disappointed. She is relieved. Nothing to read, she thinks. Nothing to learn. Just paper. She likes the blank scrolls. They are quiet. They do not demand anything. She rolls them back up. Roll, roll. She puts them back. It is a job of pure maintenance, keeping the nothing safe. She feels the darkness pressing against her eyes. It is heavy. She sees a blue circle. It pulses like a jellyfish. Pulse, pulse, it changes color. Blue to purple, purple to black. She watches the jellyfish swim in the dark ocean of her mind. It is slow, graceful. It has nowhere to go, it just pulses. She swallows, a dry clicking sound in her throat, calic. She moves her jaw side to side, releasing tension. She opens her mouth slightly, letting the jaw hang loose. Gravity pulls it down. She drools a tiny bit on the pillow. She doesn't care, she is too deep. She thinks about the concept of the line, a straight line drawn in the sand. She walks along the line, one foot in front of the other. It is a balance beam. She focuses on her feet. Left, right. If she falls into the dark. But she doesn't fall. She is perfectly balanced. She walks the line for miles. It is a boring journey, but it gets her through the night. She feels the texture of the blanket on her chin. It is scratchy wool. It tickles her skin. She rubs her chin against it. Scritch, scritch. It feels good. A rough massage. She does it again. Scritch. She likes the sensation. It reminds her of the rough reality of the world. Softness is a luxury. Scratchiness is real. She embraces the scratch. She hears the wind pick up outside. A gust hits the window. Thump, then a whistle. Wee, it sounds cold. Aelia shivers in her warm bed, sympathetic shivering. She is glad she is not the wind. The wind is homeless. The wind is cold. She is home. She is warm. She snuggles deeper, burrowing into the straw, like a mole, hiding from the sky. She thinks about the river again, the Tiber. She imagines the mud on the banks, slippery, gray. She imagines footprints in the mud, filling with water. She watches the water rise in the footprint, slowly, until the print is gone, erased by the river. She feels like the footprint, being filled by sleep, until she is gone, erased by the night. She drifts deeper, into the Nile. The gray fog is thicker now. It wraps around her. She cannot see her hands in the fog. She cannot see her feet. She is just a point of awareness, floating, spinning gently. She feels safe. The fog is a blanket for the soul. It muffles the sharp edges of the world. She breathes out, woo-woo, a long, slow exhale. Her chest sinks, deflating. She waits at the bottom of the breath. The pause, the silence. Then the body takes over. Inhale. Automatic. Unstoppable. Life continues. She thinks about a stone, a smooth, round river stone, holding it in her hand. It is cold. It is heavy. It is perfect. She puts the stone in her pocket. She carries the weight. It anchors her to the earth. She sleeps with the stone in her mind, a heavy, peaceful thought. The night stretches on. The stars move. The earth turns. Aelia sleeps. She is doing her job, the job of resting, the job of waiting. Quiet, boring, eternal, asleep. The night has entered the Antelucanum, the period just before the dawn, though there is no sign of light in the sky. The city of Rome is a tomb of silence, sealed under a dome of cold, black air. The temperature in the insula has reached a critical low. The moisture in the air has frozen, turning into microscopic crystals that glitter invisibly on the stone floor and the iron latch of the door. The building itself seems to have shrunk, contracting inwards against the chill, holding its breath until the sun returns to warm its brick skin. Aelia lies in the dark, a warm, living core in the center of the frozen room. She has wrapped herself so tightly in the red wool blanket that she resembles a chrysalis. Only the top of her head is visible, a dark shape against the lighter dark of the bolster. Her breathing is a slow, steady vapor engine. In, out. The air leaving her lungs is the only thing moving in the room. It rises, cools, and falls, creating a tiny, invisible weather system above the bed. She is dreaming. The dream of the arch and the fleece has faded. Now she is dreaming of mud, but not river mud, Roman mud, concrete, opus cementitium. She is standing in a construction yard. The sky is gray and overcast. In front of her is a large wooden trough. Inside is a mixture of lime, volcanic sand, pozzolana, and water. She's holding a heavy hoe and a scia. She is mixing the mortar. She lifts the hoe. It is heavy. She brings it down. Thwack. It hits the wet gray sludge. She pulls it back, squelch. The suction of the mud resists her. It makes a wet sucking sound. She lifts, thwack. She pulls, squelch. It is a dream of extreme viscosity. The mud is thick. It is heavy. It smells of wet ash and earth. She mixes and mixes, turning the gray pile over, ensuring the lime is fully hydrated. There is no hurry. The wall will not be built today. Today is just for mixing. Lift, thwack, pull, squelch. The rhythm is slow and laborious. She feels the strain in her shoulders in the dream, but she continues, because the mortar must be mixed, because Rome is made of this mud, and she is a builder of Rome in her sleep. In the real room, a sensation travels up her leg, pins and needles. Her left calf has been pressed against the mattress for too long. The blood flow is restricted. The nerves are firing warning shots. Tingle, prickle, burn. Aelia stirs. The sensation invades the dream. The mud in the trough starts to bubble. Fizz, pop, it turns into ants. Thousands of red ants crawling on her legs. She wakes up slightly. She realizes it is not ants. It is her own leg. She groans softly. She needs to move. She flexes her foot. She rotates her ankle. Crack, a dry pop. She rubs her calf with her other foot. Rub, trying to stimulate the circulation. The tingling intensifies, becoming a sharp static noise in her nervous system. Then it fades. Warmth returns. The ants disappear. The mud returns to being mud. She sighs. Chua. She rolls onto her back. The movement is difficult. The blanket is heavy and tangled around her legs. She has to kick to free herself. Kick, rustle, she frees her feet. She rolls, flop, she lies flat. Her arms are splayed out at her sides. She feels like a starfish washed up on a beach. Exposed, open, she pulls her arms in, crossing them over her chest. The mummy position. It feels safer, more contained. She holds her own shoulders with her hands, hugging herself. I am here, she tells her body. I am holding you together. She thinks about the concept of salt. She imagines a salt mine. Underground, white walls, crystal ceilings. She licks the wall in her mind, salty, sharp, burning. She imagines a block of salt. She is carving it with a small knife. Scrape, scrape. White dust falls. She is carving a small horse out of salt. She focuses on the ears, tiny triangles. She focuses on the tail. It is delicate work. If she presses too hard, the salt will shatter. She works gently. Scrape. The sound is quiet and dry. She likes the salt horse. It is clean. It will never rot. It is a permanent thing. She hears a sound from the street, a very distant squeak. A cartwheel needing grease. It is miles away, moving toward the city gates, the first sign of the coming morning traffic. Aelia hears it. It triggers a feeling of dread. Morning, she thinks. No, she rejects the squeak. She pushes it out of her mind. She replaces it with the sound of the ocean. Whoosh. She drowns the cart in imaginary water. The squeak stops. The ocean remains. She feels the texture of the linen sheet under her heels. She rubs her heels against the fabric. Scuff, scuff. The skin on her heels is dry. It makes a rasping sound. She stops. She presses her heels into the mattress, anchoring herself. She feels the solidity of the bed frame. It is good timber. It holds her up. She trusts the bed. She feels a cold spot on her cheek. She has moved her head off the warm spot on the bolster. Her cheek is now touching fresh, cold linen. It wakes her up a little. She considers moving back, but the cold feels refreshing. It tightens the skin. She stays there, letting the cold seep into her face. Cool me down, she thinks. Freeze the thoughts. She thinks about the concept of the knot. She visualizes a rope, a thick hemp rope. She is tying a knot, a figure-8 knot. Loop over, loop under, through. She pulls it tight. Tug. It is a strong knot. She ties another one, a square knot. Left over right, right over left. Tug. She is tying knots in the darkness. Securing the ship, securing the load. She ties 100 knots in her mind. It is a way to bind the anxiety, to tie it up so it cannot move. She looks at her row of knots. They are neat, symmetrical. She is satisfied. She feels a hunger pang. Her stomach contracts. Gurgle. It is a loud, wet sound. She places her hand over her stomach, pressing down. Quiet, she commands. There is no bread, only sleep. She imagines the stomach is a bag. She imagines closing the bag, pulling the drawstring tight. The hunger is trapped inside. It cannot get out. She drifts into a new dream. She is in a vineyard. The vines are bare. Winter vines, twisted brown wood. She is pruning them. She holds a curved knife. Snip. She cuts a branch. The wood is hard. Snip. She cuts another. She is shaping the vine for the spring. It is cold in the vineyard. Mist hangs in the air. She works methodically. Vine by vine, row by row. She likes the sound of the cut. Clean, sharp, final. She is the gardener of the winter, preparing the world for green but enjoying the brown. She feels a heaviness in her eyelids. She tries to open them, just to check the room, but they are glued shut. The sleep gum has sealed them. She gives up. Good, she thinks. Eyes are closed. Curtains are drawn. She watches the light show on the back of her eyelids again. A purple swirl, a green dot, a black hole. She dives into the black hole. She thinks about the concept of the measuring cup. A bronze modius, used for measuring grain. She imagines filling it, pouring wheat in. It reaches the top. She takes a straight stick, a strickle. She scrapes it across the top. Scrape. Leveling the grain. Excess wheat falls to the floor. She likes the leveling, making it flat, making it fair. She imagines her life as a cup. She is leveling it, removing the excess excitement, removing the excess worry, making it flat, making it boring, making it peaceful. She feels the weight of the blanket on her chest. It presses down on her ribs, making it slightly harder to breathe. She has to push against the wool to inhale. Push, inhale, relax, exhale. It is like weight training for the lungs. She likes the resistance. It reminds her that she is alive, that she is strong enough to lift the wool. She hears a sound from the wall. A click, the sound of a brick settling, or a mouse moving a nut. Click, it is sharp. Aelia hears it. Brick, she decides. The house is sitting down. She imagines the house is a giant animal. It is settling into the mud, getting comfortable. She settles with it, sinking deeper into the mattress. She feels a dryness in her throat. She swallows. Gulp. It is loud. She wonders if her husband can hear her swallow across the miles. No, that is silly, but she likes the thought that they are connected by the air. She breathes out, sending her breath to him. Catch this, she thinks. It is a sleep breath. She thinks about the concept of gray, the color of the unbleached wool, the color of the stone, the color of the dawn before the sun. She paints her mind gray, a flat, matte gray. It is a restful color, no brightness, no glare, just soft shadow. She wraps herself in the gray. She becomes invisible, a gray woman in a gray room. She feels a twitch in her finger, her pinky finger. Twitch, it jumps. She ignores it, just a nerve. She focuses on her breathing. In, out, she counts the breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, she counts to 10. Then she starts again. 1, 2, it is a circle, a loop of numbers, keeping her mind busy so it doesn't think about the day. She drifts deeper, into the Nile, the place where the mixing stops, where the pruning stops, where there is only the hum of existence. She is a vibration in the dark, low frequency, steady. She is the purr of the universe. She feels the cold air on her nose again. It is biting now. The pre-dawn chill is the hardest. She buries her face completely, pulling the blanket over her head. She is in a tent of wool. It is dark. It is red in her mind. It is warm. She breathes the warm air, recycling her own heat. It smells of life. She smiles in the dark, a tiny, secret smile. She has won against the cold. She is safe. She sleeps. The mixing is done. The salt is carved. The knots are tied. There is nothing left to do. Just be quiet, boring, asleep. The night has reached its terminus. We have entered the diliculum, the twilight of the dawn. It is that fragile gray hour when the dominion of the dark begins to fracture, not with a bang, but with a slow, inevitable dilution. The city of Rome, which has lain like a stone beast in the mud for hours, begins to twitch. The silence, once a solid block of granite, is now perforated by the tiny, needle-like sounds of the waking world. In the insula, the cold is absolute. It is the deepest chill of the 24-hour cycle. The heat of yesterday is gone. The heat of today has not yet arrived. The stone walls are frigid. The air inside Aelia's room is motionless, holding a suspension of dust and cold that feels ancient. A thin, transparent skin of ice has formed on the surface of the water in the clay pitcher. It is a fragile lens, waiting to be broken by the first thirsty dip of a cup. Aelia lies in the sanctuary of her bed. She is still curled deep within the red wool blanket, but her position has loosened slightly. The tight, defensive ball of the deep night has uncoiled into a more relaxed posture. Her breathing has shifted. It is no longer the deep, heavy draft of the Gallicinium. It is lighter, faster, rising to meet the surface of consciousness. In, out, she is surfacing from the ocean of sleep. She is dreaming one last dream. The dream of the mud mixing and the salt carving has faded. Now she is dreaming of a kiln, a potter's kiln. She is sitting in front of the brick oven. It is sealed with mud. Inside, she knows there are pots, bowls, amphorae. The fire is burning inside. She can feel the heat radiating through the bricks. It is a gentle baking heat. She is not feeding the fire. The wood has burned down to embers. She is waiting for the cooling. She touches the brick wall of the kiln in the dream. It is warm, rough, red. She leans her back against it. She waits for the pots to be finished. It is a dream of transformation. The soft clay becoming hard stone, the night's rest turning into the day's strength. She sits by the kiln and watches the smoke rise, a thin white line going up into a blue sky, peaceful, done. In the real room, the first photon of light enters. It finds a crack in the wooden shutter, an imperfection in the oak. It squeezes through. It strikes the dust motes floating in the air. Suddenly, the invisible becomes visible. A single beam of pale, gray light cuts across the darkness. It looks like a shaft of solid smoke. It illuminates the leg of the table. It illuminates the handle of the pitcher. The world is reforming. The shapes are returning from the void. Aelia stirs. The light does not touch her eyes, but her skin senses the shift in the room's energy. The air feels different, less heavy, more expectant. She rolls onto her back. Rustle, crunch, the straw mattress accepts the movement. She stretches her legs, extending them fully. She points her toes. She reaches her arms up over her head. Her hands emerge from the blanket. They touch the cold air. Shock, but it is a waking shock, a signal. She stretches her spine, arching her back off the mattress. Groan, a long, low sound of muscles waking up. She holds the stretch. 1, 2, 3. She collapses back onto the bed. Flop. She opens her eyes, the eyelids flutter, sticky with sleep. She blinks once, twice. The room is a blur of gray shadows. She sees the beam of light. She watches the dust dancing in it. It is faster now. The heat of the dawn is creating currents. The dust is waking up too. She stares at the ceiling beams. They are emerging from the blackness. Heavy dark lines against the gray plaster. Hello, beams, she thinks vaguely. You are still there. She hears a sound from outside. The sound she's been waiting for and dreading and expecting. Cock-a-doodle-doo, a rooster, crowing from a courtyard nearby. It is a ragged, scratchy sound. A young rooster, perhaps. It cuts through the air like a serrated knife. Then silence. Then another rooster answers, farther away. Cock-a-doodle-doo, the call and response of the morning. The network of birds waking the empire. Aelia listens. She does not move. She lets the sound wash over her. It is the bell of the new day. She feels the warmth of the bed one last time. She consciously appreciates it. The pocket of hot air she has maintained all night. It is a luxury. She wiggles her toes in the wool. Goodbye, warmth, she thinks. Thank you for the night. She knows she has to leave it soon, but not this second. She steals another minute, just lying there, watching the gray light turn to pearl. She thinks about the water in the pitcher. She knows she will have to break the ice. She imagines the sound, crack. She imagines the cold water on her face, washing away the sleep. It will be shocking. It will be good. She prepares herself mentally for the cold. She steels her resolve. She is a Roman woman. She can handle cold water. She hears the sound of a cart outside. This one is close. Rumble, clatter, iron wheels on stone, the milk cart, the vegetable cart. It is loud. It says, work. It says, move, Aelia sighs, chua. She accepts the cart. She accepts the work. She sits up slowly. She pushes herself up with her elbows. The blanket falls away from her shoulders. The cold air rushes in. It embraces her torso. She shivers. Brrr. She rubs her arms. Rub. She swings her legs over the side of the bed. She pauses, sitting on the edge. Her white tunic is wrinkled from the night. Her braid is messy, hanging over her shoulder. She looks at her feet, pale against the dark stone floor. She wiggles her toes, hovering above the cold. She thinks about her husband. Is he waking up too? Is he hearing a rooster in a foreign land? Or a trumpet? She hopes he slept well. She hopes he was warm. She sends a thought to him across the dawn. Morning, Lucius. I am awake. The house is safe. She stands up, thud. Her feet hit the floor. The cold is instant, sharp. She stands straight. She stretches her arms out. She walks to the window. She unbolts the shutter. Slide. The iron bolt is cold and stiff. She pushes the wood open. Creak. The morning light floods in. It is not bright yet, just a pale, clean, blue-gray light. The prima lux. She looks out at the street. A light mist hangs over the cobblestones. A man is walking a donkey. A woman is sweeping a step. The city is starting again. The great machine is turning over. Aelia breathes in the morning air. It is fresh. It smells of mist and bread baking somewhere. It fills her lungs. It wakes her blood. She turns back to the room. The bed is messy. The straw is depressed where she lay. The blanket is a heap of red wool. The lamp is dead. The night is over. She walks to the table. She picks up the pitcher. She pours water into the bowl. Splash. She begins to wash. The sound of water splashing is the sound of the day beginning. She is no longer Aelia the sleeper. She is Aelia the living. She is ready. The room brightens. The shadows retreat to the corners. The boring, beautiful night is finished. But it will come again. The sun will rise and the sun will set. And Aelia will be there, waiting, working, sleeping in the quiet heart of Rome.